the org structure, people reporting, there'll be a boxes, reporting, the entire structure was to be understood, first of all, to get an idea of the organization. But when we say for the modern leader, for the modern organizations, those structures are not so rigid. In fact, Peter Drucker years back had said the structure all inside, all inside. And in that inside, he referred to HR leaders, the strategic planning, the leaders at the higher level, marketing, operations, everybody inside, and also included the vendors and the suppliers and customers. Because the pace of change is so fast, you can say the pace is on, the pace has got some steroids and it is running very fast. So therefore, any product, any service need to be developed in quick, short time. Uh, you know, decade back, we used to talk about the Silicon Valley's 90-day rule. In 90 days, from the concept to product, need to be developed and launched. Because at any point of time, there are several organizations thinking of the same solution. So therefore, it's not enough to have HR and non-HR but that's the starting point. The entire organization should be on the same page, and then we integrate the vendors and the key customers. Because the vendors decide about what kind of R&D, what kind of improvements they can bring in. The speed of an organization, as we say, one network, one spider web network competing with another spider web network. It is not just the competency of the organization. So therefore, today understanding the what we call H3 businesses, the businesses of the future. Uh, you know, Again, that is a classification by McKinsey: H1, H2, H3. H1 businesses are the businesses of the past. H2, the businesses that the organization have launched in the last 3, 4, 5 years. H3 are the businesses of tomorrow. Yeah. And many a times what happens, our mainstream operations take away all our time and energy. When we are so much focused on the mainstream, very little time left for new streams. It's like India can't depend on only Bombay High for oil. We need to look for new streams of businesses. We need to look for new alliances in other parts of the world. Many of you would be familiar with Guru Charan Das, who had written India Grows at Night and India Unbound. Years back, when he was the vice president of Procter & Gamble India, he said everyone in the organization need to meet 10 customers and 10 retailers every year. Everyone. It is not the job of the marketing guys alone. The people from finance, accounts, HR, R&D need to meet 10 customers and 10 retailers every year. So you get to know how the customers are thinking, what kind of problems are they facing, and what can be done in the organization to remain agile. So therefore, in today's context, I thank the Kronos team for choosing a very important topic, and I'm delighted to see so much of experience from different sectors, the CHROs, the senior leaders from different organizations congregated here to throw more light and on this important issue. I think Professor Kanagraj, the GMP team, Professor Pradhan, Professor Giridhar, and my other colleagues who are here, and I wish you a great day of learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Patro, for your valuable insights. Before we jump into our exciting panels, we want to extend a heartfelt welcome once again to our distinguished guests. Your presence truly elevates the event today. I would like to invite Professor Patro again to present a bouquet to our guests. Professor, request you to please come on stage.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Please welcome Mr. Suraj Chetri from Airbus India.
Okay. Okay.
Next, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Badri Narayana from Deloitte, South Asia. Next, we have Mr. Dilip Sinha from Vedanta. Joining us next is Ms. Shruti Srivastava from Citibank.
Thank you, Professor. We would like to invite Professor P.C. Padan to present the bouquet to our guests. Please welcome Mr. Himanshu Misra from Axis Asset Management Company. Let us now welcome Mr. Benny Dawson from Export Trading Group. Next, please welcome Mr. Misal from KPMG. Let us now welcome Ms. Renu Jetani from Sutherland Global.
Thank you, Professor. We would now like to invite Professor Giri to present the bouquet. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Chandrasekhar P. Deshmukh from Camlin. I welcome Mr. Abhijit Mitra from Tejas Networks. Let's welcome Mr. Deepu Bhattacharya from Unity Bank. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Shivan Tikku from Mahindra First Choice Wheels.
Thank you, Professor. Now, I would like to invite Professor Kanakraj to present the bouquet for our guests. We welcome Mr. Ajay Kumar, MS from Thocentric. Please welcome Mr. George Thomas from MSP Steel. Thank you, Professor. Marcus Buckingham couldn't have put it better. Talent is the multiplier. The more energy and attention you invest in it, the greater the yield. This quote perfectly encapsulates the essence of our first panel discussion, which addresses a crucial aspect of talent acquisition: campus hiring versus market hiring, strategic differences and benefits. Organizations must carefully consider their recruitment strategies in today's competitive job market.
This panel will explore the nuances, advantages, and challenges of both campus hiring and market hiring, helping HR professionals and business leaders make informed decisions about their talent acquisition approaches. As Buckingham's quote suggests, the energy and strategy we invest in sourcing the right talent from campuses or from broader markets can profoundly impact our organization's success.
To share their treasured insights on this, we are pleased to invite our esteemed panelists to you. Our first panelist is Mr. Suraj Chhetri, VP and Head of HR, as well as Head of Site Bangalore at Airbus India. With over 30 years of experience in various sectors, including roles at Bata, Bosch, GM, and Textron, where he served as Deputy MD and board member, Mr. Suraj has made significant contributions throughout his career. Since joining Airbus in 2011 as Regional Director of HR for India and South Asia, he now oversees HR operations across the region while leading the Bangalore site. In 2024, he was recognized with prestigious awards, including Most Iconic HR Leader by World HRD Congress. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Suraj to the stage with a warm round of applause.
Dr. Badri Narayana, our second panelist, brings over 26 years of talent management experience. He has led HR transformations in IT, BPO, professional services, serving as a strategic talent leader for emerging businesses. He is an executive director of organization development and strategic projects for South Asia. A key member of Deloitte's executive leadership team, Dr. Narayana also coaches international senior leaders and is certified by the International Coach Federation. Kindly join us in welcoming Dr. Badri Narayana.
Our next panelist is Ms. Shruti Srivastava, Senior VP of HR, Citibank. Ms. Shruti is a business-focused HR leader with nearly 20 years of experience shaping HR strategies across diverse sectors, including BFSI, packaging, IT, and aviation. She crafted and executed strategic HR initiatives that tackle business challenges, foster cultural alignment, and boost productivity. She has driven HR transformations, developed robust talent management frameworks, and spearheaded organizational restructuring and cultural change. Kindly join us in welcoming Ms. Shruti on stage with a round of applause.
Our next panelist is Mr. Himanshu Mishra, Head HR, Access Asset Management Company. Mr. Himanshu has over 18 years of diverse experience spanning various HR domains such as rewards and recognition, talent acquisition and development, HR partnering, succession planning, and change management. He also has experience in leading and implementing large-scale HR technology projects, mergers and acquisition, and metrics reporting structures. Prior to Axis Bank, he has also worked in organizations such as Citibank and ICICI Group. Let's give a warm round of applause and welcome Mr. Himanshu on stage.
Our next panelist is Mr. Binny Dawson, Global Head of People Development, ETG World. Mr. Binny Dawson is a seasoned language and learning and development, talent development, organizational development, and change management professional with over 20 years of global experience in BFSI, ITES, agri, trading, and IT sectors. An early adopter of change and technology, Mr. Binny integrates innovative solutions to stay ahead in the dynamic business environment. He began his career at Hinduja Global, laying a solid foundations for his expertise. Certified in coaching, psychometrics, and process change management, Mr. Bini brings comprehensive expertise. Kindly welcome us in Mr. Bini to the stage.
Our final panelist is Mr. Missel. He is a seasoned HR leader with over 15 years of experience, currently heading talent acquisition for ECR and audit at KPMG India. He has previously held key roles at Deloitte India and Fidelity Investments, excelling in recruitment and driving tech transformations in HR. Passionate about using design thinking to solve complex challenges, Mr. Missel is known for leading impactful hiring strategies and managing talent acquisition teams. Kindly join us in welcoming Mr. Misal onto the stage.
To moderate this insightful discussion, we are pleased to introduce Nidhi Unial. Nidhi brings nearly 6 years of dynamic experience with the Society for Human Resource Management, where she worked in roles spanning business development, operational excellence, and project management. She collaborated with HR and L&D leaders to craft and implement impactful HR capability building solutions that enhance both behavioral and functional competencies. Her aspiration is to pivot into HR and help build better and more inclusive workspaces. Over to you, Nidhi.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sherry and Sai, for those wonderful introductions. And panel, welcome once again. Please stay seated. All right, so good morning once again, and welcoming our esteemed panel. We've got a wonderful blend of different industries representing here, and welcoming once again my batchmates who joined here in the audience, the professors who joined us. Thank you for taking out the time and joining us for this discussion. So while I'm the moderator here, I'm representing the voice of our batch and the questions that they've shared when it comes to this topic per se, right? Steve Jobs once said that the success of him and Apple's success is attributed to the fact that he hired some of the best talent across the world, right? And that sort of signifies how important it is to hire the right talent for the right job. Hence, our discussion on the topic around campus hiring versus market hiring becomes much more crucial, where we're trying to understand as organizations and as HR leaders, what are the nuances that you look when it comes to hiring talent pool, whether it is from campuses or looking at market hiring. Also, we want to delve a little more deeper into aspects of hiring practices. What expectations do you have from campuses like XLRI and other B schools in the industry, and how some of the best employers like you that you represent, how do you navigate this dilemma of campus hire versus the market hiring? So with that, I would start with one question that I would like to sort of open to everybody here in the panel. The context is that in today's dynamic job market, the concept of job readiness has evolved. A recent survey revealed that while 65% of the employers believe campus recruiters bring this enthusiasm and new skills, only 40% feel that these candidates are ready to hit the ground running. So on the other hand, market hires often bring specific skill sets, which may require longer onboarding to adapt to company culture. So the question is, what is your organization's approach to bridge this gap between potential and readiness of campus hires compared to the market hires? And how do you ensure that the integration of both groups contribute positively to the overall company culture and business objectives? So the intent is that how, once the talent sort of enters the workforce, how do you sort of look at bridging that gap? And for that, opening the question to everybody here in the panel, what's your view and thought process there? So, sir, starting off with you.
Thank you. If you need an honest answer from me, I think for my organization, I'm not trying to be boastful, but we don't see that as a problem at all. We've been doing it day in and day out. But the important thing is in the integration itself, we need to ensure that it is done differently. You have an integration program when you get people from campus and when you get people from the market, but you have to make sure that different key things are addressed. We normally call them transires, so they move from one to another, and the other one we call elevate. And we're looking at about 200, 300 fresh campus hires that we look at. Of course, mostly technical. Um, and what we do is we learn the art. The art is not starting when they start in your organization, but the art is starting when they accept your job. That's when you start building a relationship with them. That's when you reach out to them. That's where you engage them, make them feel a part of your organization, involve them in every activity, invite them over, and most importantly, their families, because we've realized one thing, that sometimes it's the family that holds you back from searching for a job in another organization, because they get so attached to the way things are done in the company, the way they are involved and engaged. And I think it starts, folks in my profession call it welcome meal, joining formalities, joining connect. And I think that first experience is important. But furthermore, I think what we do is we do a 100-day learning plan, which is structured. We look at their individual development plans. And mind it, we don't start with the individual development plan. The day that you're interviewed itself, we decide what you would do, what are the areas of deficit, what are the areas you need to work on. And then when you join the organization, we start from there. And everything is backward looking, where we say, that's what we felt about someone or the other. Have they been able to do what they've done? And then take it forward. And I think this orientation, when we do, the most important thing we focus upon is the culture of the organization. Because everyone is quoting everyone, so I'll also have to quote and say that Peter Drucker said, culture eats, strategy for breakfast. I'm not a keen breakfast guy. I skip breakfast. That's why I don't ever have breakfast after I heard Peter Drucker say that. Guys, you can laugh if you like the joke. Huh? And of course, then we do feedbacks 3 months, 6 months till they feel engaged. But if you're looking at do we do things differently? The answer is no. But within the things that we do, is it different? The answer is yes.
Thanks, Suraj. For us at Deloitte, we onboard around 13 to 1400 campus hires from various campuses. For us, the answer is very clear. I think the job readiness is the sole responsibility of the organizations that you join. Trust me. And let me tell you, all of this, demand this of the organizations that you're joining. Okay. And I'll tell you why I say this. Each one of you comes with a lot of strengths. Okay. And each one of you joins the organization with no expectations. You come with skills, you come with an experience, and I understand that each one of you sitting here has got 5 years of experience at least, right? So demand of the organization on what they can offer to you while you're engaging with them in the internships. And I'll tell you why I say internships. At Deloitte, we in most of the campuses that we hire from, we get engaged from the internship program itself, and we identify whom to hire within that batch. All these 1,200 people, we try and engage in some form and fashion right through the year before we are about to hire. So the business on one side is completely ready for whom to receive, what skills they're coming with. And on one side, the students also exactly know what to expect of the organization, because we weave our curriculum into what we teach, and we have faculty from the business, going and interacting with the students and constantly interacting with them. So the readiness for us, the biggest responsibility lies with the organization, right? And from your end, be very, very clear on engaging very well with the faculty that come from the organization, because a lot of them make their judgments while they actually interact with you all the time during the campuses, and half the selection process happens there. And after that, the final interview is, you know what it is all about. The final list is already drawn. So as you do assignments with them, as you engage with them, my strongest recommendation to all of you is that push yourself that little extra, push yourself that little edge more, and keep showing them the intent of how eager you are to pick up whatever is there. You know, these guys generally who come to you are all experienced people. What they're looking for is some fresh breath of air that you can bring into their teams, because the clients are asking them for that, right? So that's my short take.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would say that this is an interesting topic, and this is something which is core to all of you and core to the most of the organizations also these days. Because the kind of fresh perspective, technology advancement, which the campus hire brings in, has to be merged well with the experienced professionals, and that's how an inclusive culture builds into the organization. With this focus, our organization definitely have a very strong program, which is a global program, where we believe that investing in the campus hires are actually building the future leaders. They're not in the campus hire, they're the future leaders, because the cultural binding which they get since beginning, which they join, they come and join and look at the different aspects of the business. They get to perform various roles. We have very open job rotation policy where they can switch roles, get understanding of the business holistically, and grow as a future leader in the organization. And we have many, many examples, which all of you would know. I would not quote those leaders specifically. Having said this, while yes, the program is evolving, and like they said that in Deloitte, they have a strong internship program, so do we. We look at adaptive intelligence, that how the campus hire would be able to adapt to the values of city. And one of the city's values is definitely transparency and innovation constantly. While we focus on our clients, how much client servicing and front ending of the clients, the campus hire would be able to support. We have a very strong mentorship program for them. It has a very, very well defined two-tiered, two years program where the interns are provided opportunity to again work on different aspects, learn from their mentors, and they are frequently provided feedback. Their goals are properly assessed, and they go through a rigorous program. While having said that, we are also focusing on the micro learning modules. There are a lot of micro learning modules available for them, which is provided at which they can do at their own free time and at their own pace, while obviously the on-job learning is given to them. So these are the things which are there. We focus on their career development, because what all of us are looking forward is to develop a career. We also have to offer to meet the aspiration and the expectation of the individual. So career development is very important aspect for managing any campus program, which we focus on, giving the transparency again, that how you will grow in the organization, and then obviously there is a job laid out for you that you can continue growing. Recognition, and again, is very important aspect as well, which you focus, that how do we recognize, giving them visibility, giving them opportunity to deal with leaders at various forums. Yes, that's also something which we offer. So these are the things which we bring in for the campus hires. Having said that, don't do this for the market hires? No, not really, because we treat them equally, because we believe in inclusive workforce culture. While the market hires bring in their own perspective, their own experience, we try to see that how the two of them can work together on cross-functional projects and learn from each other and make it much more productive for the organization. So I can go on and so forth talking about the program. I'm sure the rest of the questions will be able to help me giving specific insights. That's about the first question. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Uh, okay, by the time we reach, it's very difficult to keep uniqueness of perspective, but let me, try and share different perspective. So, maybe you shared some stats of some survey. My constant urge to, freshers and youngsters in my organization is don't let surveys fool you, because most of the times surveys hide more what they reveal. The story is decided beforehand, the numbers are disclosed. But since you spoke about job readiness, and I think, my esteemed panelists have already shared some views about job readiness, let me take a detour and talk about org readiness or change readiness. Since last evening, I've interacted with quite a few of you. And what I understand is most of the people have undergone, a significant transition in their life by enrolling for this program. So working for 5, 6 years, at different companies. Some of you, come from very diverse backgrounds, such as architect or, from the army or being a doctor, etc., etc. Now there's suddenly, a very different cocoon environment wherein you're slogging it off for 18, 20 hours in a day, or, 7 days of a week. And that's the change that almost all of you have adapted to, and to a large extent, everybody seems to be enjoying it, right? Uh, so why don't you extend this analogy to when you transition to an organization? It's a similar change that you will undergo. And whether it is campus hires or market hires, where people fail is not being that change ready. I don't see too much of a difference between campus versus market hires. People who are ready for that change, adapt better, do better and succeed in their roles. People who are not ready to, accept that change in the organization, in the culture, etc., usually, uh, you know, fail to deliver. Uh, Behind those 40%, 65%, etc., numbers, I think in terms of campus hires, what has been changing over the last 15, 16 years that I've observed is the variance, in readiness. There are a set of people who hit the ground running, even if they're freshers or from campus from day one. And then there are people who take a very long time to adapt to the work culture of an organization. Uh, I keep telling my team it's similar to how you teach a toddler to walk or to ride a bicycle. There are kids, at 1 years who, the moment they take the first step, they start walking, and you can take off the support. Or at 3 years when they start riding a bicycle, the first time they pedal a bicycle, they're able to take off. And then there are some who take months and months of support before they could take off on their own. And we've seen a very similar pattern panning out for campus hires as well. There are people who have all the confidence to make it big, and they just go with the flow, trust the process, trust the organization, go with the flow. And then there are people who are always circumspect about why we are doing what we're doing. Is it the right thing that I'm doing? So on and so forth. And that inner cynic does not let them settle down well in their jobs. So my advice to all of you would be, all of you have wisdom of working in a corporate setup for 5, 6 years. Uh, and therefore, for you guys, choices will be far more easier compared to, your fresher counterparts. I would say trust the process, know more about your career anchors. Don't go by the labels. I heard a lot of, terms being thrown around that I want to get into consulting and I want to get into product management. These are labels. There's no standard definition of these in any organization. Ultimately, what matters to the company is your drive to excel and succeed, and your enthusiasm and energy to make change happen. Uh, at Axis Group, we hired some 9,000 plus campus hires last year. Uh, and that includes people from our own academies in partnerships with large universities. I mean, from MBA campuses and technology campuses, that number would be closer to 2,000 or so. We did some, study some 5, 6 years back in 2018, 19. And to the specific point on readiness and success, what we analyze using real data, in our own organization, is that the big difference between campus hires and market hires is the initial takeoff period. So market hires, they deliver consistently from the time they join, and then they plateau out at the end of 12, 15 months or so. For campus hire, the initial period is very turbulent. Most of the people, struggle to settle down. But those who survive the first 15, 18 months, then the takeoff is very, very steep. So I think that's where the key lies, for all of you as well. Be very, very clear of your choices. Be very clear of, what is your temperament, what is your persona, who are you as a person. Because job readiness is not inbuilt in anybody. You've got to be ready from within. A company cannot make you ready. Uh, a company can give you all support. So, for example, if I can talk about my organization, there are mentoring programs for campus hires. There are job rotation opportunities. We give people choices to, apply for a role of their choice. We do active career management for them in terms of promotions, role changes at, career crossroads, so on and so forth. But ultimately, if the person is not ready, that readiness we cannot bring in, right? We can give all the support. We can provide all the resources and tools that are necessary for you to succeed. Uh, but you feel ready, is how I would like to respond. I mean, flip the question on its head and say, do you feel ready? Uh, and then that feeling has to come from within. So, sorry for, slightly longish detour, but I thought these are important points for all of you to think about.
Right. Benny, would you wanna?
Yes, certainly. But I think my response, I don't want it to be same as above. If you don't mind repeating the question so that I can, I think I also heard integration.
Right.
Uh,
So we're talking about how do you sort of any new hire that sort of joins your organization, how do you sort of bring them on board and make them job ready like we're discussing so far. So we've
between campus and
between both of them actually.
Right.
New hires.
So maybe because I think by and large, every company is going to have a mentoring program. Every company is going to have job rotations, mobility, and all of that. So a perspective that I can share would be one step behind, which is why would we even want to hire from campuses? And I don't know how many of you follow Greek mythology. Does anyone follow Greek mythology here? Hercules and all those stories. I see a few only on the right side. Does that indicate something? Okay, so if you've heard the story of Prometheus, have you heard the story of Prometheus? What did Prometheus steal? Fire. And fire is supposed to be knowledge in Greek mythology. So if you see, lately what's happening is the advantage that you had several years ago, that is if you have a degree from XLRI or one of the IIMs, it gave you attention. And that attention is reducing because fire has been stolen right now. Prometheus stole fire. It's been given to the common man. There are plenty of colleges everywhere. It confuses recruiters. There are IIMs everywhere. So now the need for this type of talent is slowly diminishing because people want job ready talent in the organization. So what we are trying to do is we still believe that if you come from a premium college, especially for certain roles, I wouldn't say it's volume. For certain roles, let's say it's strategic roles, it's leadership pipeline builds and things like that. We still believe because you have the academic rigor that we would like to go to one of these colleges where there is that commitment. If I hear the stories of how much time you spend in the college, how your typical day looks like, I think they're already building that rigor into you to survive in the corporate world. So what we try and do is it's like going into a nursery and looking for a plant that we know that in 5 years has great potential. So what we do one step before is because our volumes are not as high as some of the other organizations here, we're very picky about what type of talent we bring in. And it's almost like the Goldilocks zone. So science students, physics, Goldilocks zone, anyone? Yeah, right, Earth is in the Goldilocks zone, right? So we want a certain level of sophistication, but at the same time, we want people who can roll up their sleeves and go down to the farmland, talk to farmers, or talk to the most sophisticated CEO from, let's say, Harvard or IIM or wherever, We want the blend of two. And then we try and cocoon them for some period. We give them mentorship opportunities and all that, because we also see that now the existing talent, they are also equally good, but they may be good performers, but they don't have potential for the long run. Like, I don't know which movie it was, Lambi Race Ki Goda. Is that what it is? So they may not have the same potential that some of you might have. So we have to protect them, and we don't give them that feeling that you're God's gift to mankind, but we give you an opportunity to work under certain leaders who build that humility in you as well, and at the same time, nurture you and protect you for long-term success. That is our approach, so that people don't feel like you're special. And then in the long run, you integrate quite well with the existing leaders in the organization.
Right. No, that makes sense. Misal, do you have?
Yeah, no, you've put me in a tough spot. First of all, good morning, everyone. After so many of my colleagues speaking greatly about the subject, finally, actually, the topic's very, very interesting to me because I have been in acquisition throughout my career. So that becomes my bread and butter to what we are typically talking about right now. I would probably keep it very short. I could see that pressure on your face that no, let's move on to the next question. So I'll try and keep it very short and simple. Now, whether we ask how do we integrate these set of students into the mainstream, when I go to a business leader, and trust me, it's not an organization issue. It drills down to a team or a service line unit wherein a business really wants to hire from campus. Vis-a-vis the others say, no, sorry, I go off campus and hire from a lateral pool wherein the pool is already skilled. Now, for all of you to remember, why do we go to campus and recruit? There are two things that we typically hire people for. One is skill and the other is competency. Now, if I talk about the ratio, 70% of our hiring is done basis competency. Okay. The remaining 30%, yes, we hire for some skill, but it is like Badri said, it's our job to ensure that we upskill you. At our firm, at KPMG, there are multiple programs and it differs basis the school of hiring that you come from or businesses that you have. So the need is very different. Now, to give an example, for us, there's a program called Consulting 101. Okay. So if you are getting into any stream of consulting, you will have to go through a 60-day workshop on Consulting 101. And it makes you ready for any consulting job, not only business consulting, it could be risk consulting. The other avenue that we are looking at, probably this not for this group, but say engineers and all, wherein you guys would have heard about hire, train, deploy or train, hire, deploy. We typically start investing in students much before they come on board with us. So that the readiness time, I think the business challenge is when is the resource billable to me? And when you get into the consulting world, the billability becomes key. Now, if my resource is billable after 3 months, how do I see the value of 3 months that I'm investing in an individual to be ready? So from an angle for all of you, it's very, very important. Campus continues to be one of the key hiring ground for all the organization because we get a lot of fresh blood, bright minds. And it's about skill. Yes, some of it that you guys can start preparing. And I think a lot of colleges and campuses have invested a lot around making you job ready. And if that is there, then of course your transitioning into organization becomes very smooth. So I'll try and keep it short here, but yeah, thank you.
No, those were all very valid point, and I think so. Himanshu's analogy of a toddler starting to walk, I feel like that's quite apt for anybody who joins an organization, and it's good to hear that there are those hand-holding mechanisms built in the organization to make us more job ready. Now, the second question theme is around digital per se. I think so. AI, ML, we've heard enough about these buzzwords. So just wanted to hear from each respective panel in terms of your experience, how has the digital transformation influenced your organization's hiring practices? And how do you ensure that both the groups are aligned with your digital strategy? And most importantly, what are the specific skills or attributes you prioritize in each hiring stream to drive digital innovation? So, sir, starting with you, Airbus. Yeah. Mr. How about you? Or maybe Vinny, yeah.
No, I think, yeah, I was expecting this to come to me with after what I said. No, but so very, very interesting question and perspective. So technology, I think it's breeding everywhere. Today, I was talking to one of my fellow colleague yesterday when we were traveling from Ranchi to Jamshedpur on how technology is shaping or getting into things that we do. Now, if I look back when I started my career, the way that we used to recruit was very, very exhaustive. From a manual resume screening to talking to an individual, trying to find out who's the best fit. And it's a very difficult job. Many times when I go to campus, either students come and say, "Hey, sorry, sir, you haven't looked at my CV. I don't know basis what grounds I have been rejected." Our job is tough because we have to pick a few of the set of students which are there. Probably here, 100 of you are there, but there are colleges when the 1,000 CVs comes to us as an application, and we need to pick few of them. Now, how technology is helping? I think AI, machine learning, every organization, be it a small scale or a large scale, is trying to implement in the way that we are working in. Now, when we talk about, say, a simple thing like a resume screening, okay, it's now happening through with the help of an AI or a machine learning, which we are educating a tool to embed and give us the skills that are required for us. Now, for us as a human, if I have to screen, I can use basic 4 parameters. Basic cutoff, has the person done internship, what firm the firm person has done internship, and what are the skill certifications that the individual has. And for me to look at one CV takes, say, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And trust me, my energy levels will get exhausted if I look at 30, 40 CV. Uske baad everything starts looking the same. Now, what machine helps me do is not only help me drive that, but it matches with the job descriptions and tells me, hey, these are 15 CVs which are very, very suited to the skill set that you require. The students have spoken about it and are meeting your parameter. Now, what I'm doing is not only shortlisting CVs which are basis my needs or requirement, but I'm also getting some insight from that tool to stack rank those CVs. Top 10, top 20, top 30, top 40. And that's the effort then we start putting in when we evaluate those CVs. Now, that's a very simple method on how screening of a CV has evolved. If you talk about evaluation, a lot of people say group discussion karna hai. There are tests which are getting implemented. Now, at a graduate level hiring, when we implement tests, now those tests cannot be very standard 10 question, 15 question that I'm just putting it to an individual. A lot of it also becomes basis competency of an individual and what my organization require. So it does that. It has done away with COVID coming in. One thing, biggest thing that the trouble was, how do we test people and how we ensure that there's no cheating happening? Now, there are methods and methodology which is in place. They will ensure that you're not using a mobile, you're not looking across your screen. If somebody is prompting, the technology can help you do that. So it's making it more meaningful for us, making the job much, much, much more easier. So you're able to get right CVs, you are able to evaluate people rightly, eliminating human biases. Now, no matter what you say, humans are prone to biases. I have done recruiting for 15 years. Many a time I get biased around things, while there are always nudges in mind that we keep in saying, no, that's not right. But biases are human. You can ignore it, but you cannot completely avoid it. Now, these tools helps us really do that. This tool also helps us remove any element that comes in from those biases: gender, location, region, community, all of it goes off because any particular individual or a business leader is not screening them. The tool is screening as simple as basis what your needs and requirements are. So I think the evolution and implementation of these tools and technology is very, very important. It helps organization get the right skills, makes the job easy. And I think even as a recruiter, your job is getting more meaningful versus just screening CVs and passing it to an interview process. You apply strategic perspective and curate those JDs. But we need to be mindful, and for the students sitting out there, when you are using technology, please be very cautious that you don't use technology blindly. If you're using any chat GPT forums to create a performer or your cover note or anything, just don't use that. Apply your brain and make it personalized basis what all of you hold in, because AI will give you a very, very generic, good English written answer, but it will not be personal to what you are doing. So my advice is, if you use those technology, it's good. You should continue using technology, but make it meaningful for and personalize it for your own self.
Right, Vinay, your
Thank you. So I think I can build on it, but we also have a different perspective because our industry is quite different. So ours is a niche industry. It's a commodity trading company, but we exist in the entire supply chain. So we have FMCG and all of that. Plus, we operate in quite a lot of geographies, including places like South Africa, Netherlands. And I quote these locations because there are specific labor laws which make it difficult for us to make wrong hiring decisions, because sometimes we have to keep them for a year or two. So what we've done is, I think we've taken a blended approach. The blended approach is when there is a ramp up, because there are also a lot of mergers, acquisitions. We are constantly growing. If you go into a LinkedIn page, you see that there's a new acquisition every month. So what we try and do is, if there is a ramp up and if it is junior to mid level, we try and use the systems, and it does, like Michelle said, it reduces decision fatigue, and decision fatigue is real. You look at 10 resumes, the 11th resume, your brain dead. It's extremely difficult to process those. So it does help us there. But with critical roles that we feel require that additional effort, we still go to executive talent houses, search houses, or we also have a good referral program. Just like consulting firms where you have partners, we have senior traders, and most often traders have built like a team wherever they go. So through those referrals and through those networks, we end up getting talent that we need. So we have a mixed approach. And I think if I were to just share one additional perspective from a student lens, I would say increase your luck surface area. Because for any job, especially in India, we see that any job post that we put, you'll see 1,000 applications or so. And most often everybody's taking a shot in the dark. It's not like it's a perfect match for them, but it's a shot in the dark. They think that, okay, I will apply, and if I will convince the recruiter later, I'll say that I have transferable skills and all that. So it adds more pressure on the recruiters or the system, because you have so much meaningless resumes coming in. So increase your luck surface area, like Misal said. Make your cover letters and your resumes fit to the role, which makes it better for the recruiters to hire you.
right.
Okay. Well, slight detour again. Nidhi, you said buzzwords. I think that's what exactly these things are: digital, Gen AI, Chat GPT, etc., and nothing more. Uh, See, human beings are prisoners of habits. We like to do things in a certain manner, how we've been doing, and if there's any change to the set pattern or the habit, we feel uncomfortable. So, for example, if every day your classes are held at 9:30 a.m., one point it become 9:30 p.m., you will get inconvenience, right? Digital is nothing but blend of data technology and customer journeys to keep evolving the user experience in a very crude manner. Digital is not a vertical, it's a horizontal, which means that whether you do marketing, whether you do strategy, whether you do HR, whether you do finance, or whether you do sales, digital is something that you got to encounter. And to that extent, digital is not an end in itself, but it's a way of working. And at the heart of it is again, how comfortable are you with change? Because uh, data will keep becoming larger and larger, technology will keep evolving, and customer journeys or user journeys will become simplified. Uh, when we are hiring, we're not hiring, for digital readiness, etc., because there is no way to assess that. You can assess learning agility, and people who are agile in their learning format will be agile with or will be friendly with digital as well. Uh, and one example that I keep giving people is when line managers or business guys complain about that we need digital skills or digital training, is that did WhatsApp come and give you any training how to use it, or did Amazon or Uber or Myntra come and give you any training? People just download the app and start using it, right? And whether it's a 15-year-old kid or 65-year-old senior person, depending on how exploratory you are with newer things, you figure out how quickly to use a new app, etc. And if you're using, let's say, an app, and because I'm from a BFSI background, and there are these regular app changes, upgrades, or changes to UI, UX, a lot of times people get very irritated when you change the user interface. There's an icon on the left side and it moves to, right hand side bottom, and you get all agitated because your mind is used to seeing in that left top corner, and if it moves to right corner, suddenly you got to change how you've been using that app. Uh, so that change or getting comfortable with that frequent change is, I would say, digital all about. Just to link it back to how does it impact all of you, uh, uh, I don't think there is any way to check, at the time of hiring how digitally ready you are. But organizations or corporations will become more and more digitally savvy, and the only way for you guys to win that race or succeed over there is uh, to embrace change in a more friendly manner, and not be a very hard-nosed prisoner of habit. You spoke of Gen I. Again, let me give a counter perspective. Gen I can do a lot, and then it can do no more. Given the fact that we are all from HR background, and Suraj said that he doesn't want to boast about his company or his function, but I would want to boast a bit about HR over here. A lot of stuff is something that AI can do, but it cannot be human. At the end of the day, it cannot bring in, emotions, empathy, uh, concern for a customer, for a user. And that is where organization in the future will become distinctive or become more differentiated, because everybody will be able to copy the Gen AI model, or will be able to provide a journey using a certain Gen AI code. I mean, people will just do it a little later, a little before. But ultimately, how are you able to engage with the customer with empathy? How are you able to give them a differentiated user experience, which is based on, something that a human being can bring to the table, is something that Gen AI cannot do. So my simple suggestion or request to all of you is that don't get too dependent on GenAI, ChatGPT, etc. Keep the human side alive, nurture that a lot more, because if there's one thing that you're going to need a lot more in future is, that human side of it. A lot of other stuff GenAI will do. So those are my 2 cents on the top.
Thank you. Well, when I heard this question over the breakfast table, my first response was that for the campus hiring, I think we still need the personalization. Even during the COVID time as well, we maintained
Right.
that. And how we were able to do that is because managers take the ownership of hiring their own team member. And while screening the resumes, they would know that who would culturally fit into their team, who would have those skills, and they look for the right candidates. Because of obviously for the niche programs which we offer, we know that what we are looking for. So as equally for you guys, that you should also know that what you're aspiring for. You should be also applying for those organizations with whom you relate to. The growth path which they offer, the culture which they offer, whether your aspiration matches with the company's missions and goals or not, because that's where the misfit starts from the first step itself, and where you would find, oh, where I've landed up. So while the organizations are taking care of finding the cultural fit and inclusivity at the time of interviews, you should be also equally be concerned and conscious that where you're applying for and what's your growth path looks like there. Secondly, we have spoken so much about technology. Yes, it's there. It's reality, which is evolving constantly. And institutes are doing these is wonderful job of keeping you also updated about what's happening in the latest technology world. So what the technology will bring in as a challenge is that technology is still an enabler. while it's there to support us, to bring to improve our efficiencies, what we should be mindful is that how do we constantly reskill and upskill ourselves, so that the learning agility has to be there. So whether you offer X right now, what has brought you here will not take you further. So you have to constantly reskill yourselves in terms of, if you're an expert in one field, what else you can offer. And I think that's what will take you in future, because let's say if AI becomes reality in next few years, and it's already becoming in most of the organizations, then what's something which you will be able to offer to the organization, that organization will value you, and you will be also equally contribute to the organization. So that's something which you can be really add to yourself. And that's all about ownership. You have to own your own career. How do you want to shape up your career? So that's again, technology can again enable that as well, to become more ready for the future. But then ultimately it's you who's owning your career. So human touch, like he mentioned clearly, that yes, I firmly believe in that and especially in HR, where the personalization cannot go away. The employee perspective, the employee experience has to be taken care, which all of us are very mindful. So while we are using technology to ease our processes, but then we are closer to the process. The managers are still taking the ownership, and it will continue to be, if we want to really make successful. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just start with an example. First of all, this word digital transformation, Nidhi, I think the press is overplaying that. The media is overplaying it. And people tend to believe that, oh, we're missing something. I don't think anybody's missing anything here. The big point is everybody has been adopting technology as they went along at various stages of their life. It's not something new. Because the US started portraying digital as the next big thing, it's got big, right? And I would advise all of you to read this book called Factfulness. Okay, it's by Hans Rosling. That book clearly breaks down why these hypes should be rather tempered and understood in the right fashion, right? So, two things I would strongly advise all of you to do. Okay, at some point during your LinkedIn positions, putting up your LinkedIn profiles, or if you're sending your CVs to the organization, clearly call out something that you could do with your digital acumen and define it very well in the CV. The reason why I'm telling you this is that whether I like it or not, even if I say that do not believe this hype too much, even I believe it. So when CVs come to me, I quickly sift through the sort of projects that people do. Where people actually copy them from ChatGPT and put it, it's clearly visible. Where people have actually worked on it and they show the end result saying that this led to so and so, even if it's a little bit of exaggeration, I would rather believe that. And personalization will never go away. And I'll give you one live example of what happened here yesterday. Before coming here, I was sent a set of questions saying that this is what we'll ask you in the podcast. And I asked the coordinator, I said, this looks very downloaded from somewhere. He said, wait, Badri, just don't bother. And he called out the name of a student. I think if he's here, is around Amit. Yeah, Amit, thank you. Yeah, Amit actually apparently prepared a very personalized question by going to my LinkedIn. He downloaded my profile, he understood my hobbies, and he used the same thing and personalized that whole questionnaire. And you should see how engaging that conversation was. It's completely different. I would have also lived with the other one, the ChatGPT one, and I would have managed it. But it made it a lot more personal. He took that effort to go there, but still used this digital acumen, download something from somewhere, understand it. So the point that I'm making is that, yeah, please, good job on this. Huh? It was a very engaging conversation, and we were facing the camera. And after some time, I forgot that there was a camera, and we were both talking like, we were having a drink and just chatting, right? It was so nice. So the point is, please use ChatGPT by all means, but please ensure that you change the message when you at least send it to us. For the future batches, I'm just telling you. Okay. So that's the most important point. And there are some perils with artificial intelligence. Okay. And I'll tell you what. Microsoft Mail has a prompt that actually tells you this could be the probable reply you can give.
Right.
It just looks at certain adjectives in that and it picks that algorithm. Once I got a resignation, that guy was being a little sarcastic. He said, glad I resigned. You guess what the prompt is saying? I'm happy to. Right? For the HR guy, that's a bloody sin, right? We wanted to retain that guy and he said, glad, I'm happy to. Begin your sentence with I'm happy to. I said, my God, this is what technology can do to you if you do not qualify it properly, right?
Classic
So
example.
these are the 2-3 cents I would like to give you guys. Yeah.
I think you talked about a beautiful mindset. You know what that mindset is called? On the rock mindset. Let me start with a story about long time ago. I met one of my colleagues and I went into his office and he had a bunch of paper, A4 sheets on his table, and he had different stacks. And I asked him, what is this? That was in the era of resumes used to come by post. And so he said, these are resumes. And I said, how will you go through it? So he made 4 stacks and he took 3 stacks and threw it into the dustbin. And he only had a limited stack of 5 resumes. So I asked him, what sort of a recruitment style is this? Because you might miss people who've got talent. And he then told me something jokingly but profound. He said, if the other 75 people have such shitty luck that they don't even qualify for the first 5, it's no good having them in my organization. Let them work elsewhere. But now things have changed and every company has become a Dracula. Dracula? Looking for fresh blood, yeah, come on. And the X factor that they look at is, of course, technology savviness, and they look at, cultural adaptability and, all those high sounding words. But I think, let me shock you. If you have not got yourself a job by the end of 2 years, I think there is something wrong in the ability of the organization that you're studying in or yourself. Shocks you? Your focus is so much on studies that you forgot to focus on the future. And if one resume or one letter is going to get you a job, I have my own doubts how long or how enjoyable the job will be. Remember, technology is there. Yes, we use it. We use at Airbus hackathons. You get into hackathons after coding challenges. But what we mainly recruit from is what we call early bird. These are people that we take within the organization, give them mentorships, and they are in their journey with us for 6 months. Internships. We have global, I would say, talent that we take, we rotate them everywhere. We look at different competitions that we organize. We look at specific conferences that we go to and then take these people in. And in our organization, 95% of the people are recruited through referrals. Why am I telling you this? In this world of technology, that belief is still important, because if a manager has not sensed you, felt you, worked with you, aligned with you, he will be very reluctant to hire you. So take this opportunity, because everything is going to be the same. We talk about technology, everyone will have that. You talk about machine, talk about equipment. We talk about all the P's that Peter Drucker talked about. Why he said all P's? Because his name starts with P. But the only P that can make the difference and can decide to either stay with you or not to stay with you, and the only P comes without a user manual is people. Focus on that. Focus on identifying the right companies and then make that effort for the 2 years to get yourself where you want to. Because again, remember one thing, for today, you need to be prepared yesterday because tomorrow will be too late. That's a quote from me, not from anyone else. Back to you, Nidhi.
Yeah. So I think so this, even through our course, we've been solving a lot of case studies. And I think so what remains crucial is that a lot of businesses who've been able to transform, the pivoting point has been when they've been able to solve their people problems first. So I think so this entire conversation was resonating around those lines. And I think so personalization wins any day. So now we've talked enough from an HR lens. Let's move to the business lens. And this question is specifically, Binny, for you, where we want to understand what metrics at ETG do you use to measure the return on investment of campus hiring versus market hiring, especially which strategies have proven to be more cost effective and sustainable for your organization. So if you could throw some light on that.
Yeah, I think one of them mentioned something similar, but in one of the things that we look at is the time to production. I think in other words, you can call it readiness as well, because we are looking at if we hire somebody from the market for a particular role, how soon can they start delivering, and if we hire from the campuses, can they hit the ground running? And oftentimes the answer is no. So that is a crucial conversation that we do have with different CEOs and HR business partners. I would say that's one of the primary ones. Besides that, it's leadership pipeline. As I said earlier, and in fact, I think this is the biggest value addition for us, which is also why we are selective of what type of people we hire from campuses, because that perception and image is quite important. Since our organization is on a growth spurt, we look at how can we hire these young, high potential talent who can create a pipeline of leaders that can go into newer geographies. So let's say we are opening a new office in Spain. Do we have somebody who's good at finance? Do we have somebody who's good at HR? Or do we have somebody who's good at managing the entire business? And then because they are so culturally adapted to our ecosystem, then we are able to deploy them into those geographies. So it is a long-term game, but we've already seen results. So I've been involved with campus hiring at least for the last 6 years since I've been here. And I see that it is creating value. So that's one of the biggest value propositions that we pitch to the CEOs and HR business partners. Talent retention is another aspect. Unlike other organizations, I think like Airbus as an example, and we were talking yesterday. I'm not going to quote on the numbers because, like you said, it's going to make a lot of people jealous. But we see that our attrition rates are definitely a bit higher because our industry takes time to learn, and then once they spend like a year or two getting a lot of exposure. I remember the first batch, some of the students went to 7 different countries to get exposure, and that makes them more valuable in the market for other companies, our competitors. Then they get poached at a significantly higher salary, or sometimes we have somebody at a senior level leaving the organization. As an example, one of our directors directly started working with the Saudi government, and he took our star performer out of this, somebody who was an all-rounder. So we do see that as a risk because the program gives that level of exposure. So talent retention is another metric that we look at.
Yeah.
Besides, of course, other things which may not be extremely relevant.
Right, right. And because you talked about Airbus, and I do remember the conversation that we had yesterday. So, sir, Airbus is a unique organization in that manner because one is, of course, the attrition numbers that you shared. I feel like they are actually something to be, looked up to. But also, innovation is engineered in your DNA, right? So, how do you tailor your employer value proposition differently when, let's say, approaching a campus versus a market hiring? Or maybe just if you could walk us through what are the elements of your EVP that resonates most with either of the groups?
I think when you talk about EVP, it's not different for campus hires, and it is not different for lateral entries or market. You know, that is standard for our company at least, and that is globally the same standard regardless of where you're working in. But the finer details can differ. Say, for example, the key areas that we focus on as an organization are cutting edge technology, because we do work on rocket science also. We make rockets also. On professional development, we focus upon global impact, collaborative culture, safety and well-being, career advancement, and committed to sustainability. And the last one you'll love the best, compensation and benefit. Now, when we go to the different markets, we may want to highlight a few things differently. Say, for example, when we come to campus, the focus would more be on the learning curve, how you get opportunities within the organization to move. We may want to show off our attrition rates below 3%. We might want to show off our Glassdoor rating of 4.2, and also talk about the packages. So that's how we try to differentiate. But understand one thing, it is not the responsibility of HR and HR alone. And if you've listened to me in the past, you will realize that it has to be mutually coexisting with business. And all the ambassadors, we have different types of ambassadors internally that speak on our behalf. And they are business people that go and put things on social media, business people that go and talk to universities and colleges, business people that go and do marketing stuff. And so this whole idea of employment marketing belonging to the business that knows best what they want is that what we focus on. And it's not rocket science actually to have low attritions, because what we look at when we are hiring is not someone joining us for compensation. And I can tell you that thing internally, when folks from Airbus are talking to you, they are trying to judge and see only two things. Are you in it for the passion of aerospace? Or are you in it for the comp and benefit? And once they understand, yes, you're in it for the passion, then all that we need to do is take that from your head to your heart, and then you will be an employee passionate about aerospace forever. That's how we do it.
Well, that's actually lovely to hear. Moving on to you, sir, just wanted to understand. So Deloitte has done enough and more research around the future of work, workplaces, right? So with the industries that are evolving, future-proofing your workplace is crucial. So how do you at Deloitte identify and hire for skills that are yet to emerge? Do you find campus hires or market hires more aligned with the skills of the future? Or you like the industry reports claiming that, they always sense a skill gap, whether it's from a market hire, from a campus hire? Do you align with that thought process? So if you could just, share some light.
Yeah. So Nidhi, look, the word work, workplace, and worker have completely changed. They're completely changed.
Right.
Workplace is no more a physical location. We all know that. Worker is no more a person who's doing it. It could be anywhere. It could be a contractor. It could be a millennial who's working from his home. So work is getting done in 10 different ways. And of course, are we ready for it? I don't think any organization is still ready for it. We're all grappling with it. But one thing I would strongly advise is when you're talking about future of work, as it relates to students and what can they do, the one good thing that all of you have in common here is you have experience already.
Right.
Right? And the sad part of it is that there are another bunch of people who got released from colleges in these 5 years,
Hmm,
right? There is a gap already here.
correct.
So one thing I would strongly advise you is that start getting prepared with what they are up to, your futuristic generation. You guys are already old, let me tell you this. You guys are already old in the market. 5 years of experience is already old. And the other thing I find, and I would strongly advise all of you, is that when you come for interviews or when you go to any campus placements, right? I hired at least 5 or 6 people from XLRI in my team itself, and I had a very good experience. But you know what did not work for me? You guys do not really sell the experience that you already had before this.
Hmm,
You don't do it very well. In fact, I had to be reminded myself that, oh, this gentleman has experience. Let me ask him about it.
yeah.
Why is that coming? You guys are approaching interviews as if this is your first job. It took time and effort for me to say that, oh, this guy worked for so and so NBFC or whatever.
Hmm,
I don't want to name that guy. He's doing very well, by the way. He's doing very, very well. But all these people had one thing in common. They do not talk about the future skills that they've developed. They do not sell what they have experimented with. I have to dig and understand this. You guys are sitting on a gold mine. In fact, I'm surprised that we're doing this topic here of
yeah.
lateral versus freshers, right?
Hmm,
You guys are a beautiful offer, 1+1 free.
yeah.
Don't you think so?
With
You
the
guys
platform.
already have experience. 5 years is a lot. Damn it, 5 years is a lot these days. And you guys are coming from campus.
Hmm,
Life can't get better. If anything stops you, it's the way you sell yourself. And like in any sport, right? That 20 minutes matters to the recruiter.
hmm,
That 20 minutes matters to the recruiter, and do a good job of selling your past experience. Talk about something that you've really broken through during these 5 years and help me understand that a little better. Don't come across as freshers who just came from college, and it takes a lot of effort for us to dig in. In fact, I had to be reminded by my co-interviewer. He bent down and say, "Hey, this guy's got 5 years experience. He's working so and so." I said, "Bro, really? Let me just look back."
yeah.
That also shows that I was not prepared for the interview. That's a different thing. That's another day.
No, but sir, I think so. You talked about something that as a batch, at least I can speak on their behalf, that we all sort of think that if you want to pivot into another industry or another role, we have to start from like zero. But I think so your point is very valid that you have to leverage your domain expertise or maybe, sell it different, like you said. So yeah. Shruti, just coming to you, and this is about how City has been sort of recognized at multiple forums about your DEI practices and your employer value proposition, right? Wanted to understand, how does City's employer branding strategy differ when you're targeting, let's say, both the groups? And most importantly, how do you look at employer branding at City, and what is, the success mantra that you guys follow?
Well, the employee branding strategy would not differ because the values which City offers remain the same. What we look for a person joining with experience or was a person joining as a fresher would still remain the same, because we would want to build future leaders for us. We would want someone who fits very well into our culture. Yes, what differs is definitely when we are approaching any campus, we would like to be clear and transparent that what we are offering, what role we are offering, and what's a career graph which City can help you to follow. That's something which we definitely, try to emphasize when we are approaching any campus. And what's the kind of potential earning would you have? What's the kind of career development graph the City can offer you, so that you can also relate to the organization and look forward to join us. Because, like I said earlier as well, that you should be also finding us aspirational.
Right.
But then otherwise, employer branding, our employer value propositions remain the same for anyone joining us, starting from the recognition and starting from the employee well-being focus, or the flexibility which we offer to the employees, the innovation possibilities, the talent mobility which we offer to employees, all of those remain the same for with irrespective. So we really don't differentiate there, because we, starting from the internship itself, you would not believe that we would the coach, the kind of coaching which the intern will get in the city will be like any 3 years experience or 4 experience joining us with some background would be the same, because we value the talent which we get. We totally because we know that you got the skills, you got the
Right.
competency. That's why you are here with us.
Mhm.
So we really value and we really respect, and the kind of projects which we offer, we handle the people very well.
Hmm.
So that that helps them also to deliver well and grow well. So that's about the employer branding aspect, I think.
Hmm.
What was the second part of the question? Sorry, can you repeat that?
So the second part was, what is the success mantra? Like, what works well for city when it comes to employer branding?
Well, I think what works well, it's a very old organization.
Mm.
We are very sustained in the market. We have delivered. We also, our leader speaks for themselves, because we also have very good leadership connect with the campus, various institutes which we look forward to target for us. So that leadership connect also helps us.
Mm.
So the kind of agility the city always shows, which we constantly evolve ourselves, the kind of commitment which we shows not just towards our own business, but also towards the corporate social responsibility.
Mm.
You would find any kind of fintech coming up, and we will be there, the first one to be part of the evolving, developing technologies. So I think those a lot speak about itself, and you would know that what city stands for it, that,
Hmm.
because having been in in the system, in the industry for a long time, we have established, but then it's not just so simple to establish and then just be complacent about it, because you have to constantly grow on, keep on living up to the challenges which comes to you.
Right.
Because the market is changing, the dynamics are constantly changing. The global
Mhm.
market has its own impact. So has the Indian economy, and we have to be mindful being in the financial institution. So, what kind of priorities which we would like to offer? We obviously pick and choose, and that's what I think City stands for. So it's easier to initially build, but then when any organization touches the growth phase, then the real game begins. That how do you still keep on climbing the graph and maintain employer branding in the industry?
Yeah. So that was quite insightful. And I think so while I can go with my questions, looking at the time, I think so I would want to hear the batch, what are their questions for that matter. So we'll open up for live Q&A, and if folks have questions, please. There are a few, yeah.
Yeah, hello. I'm audible? Yeah. Hi, panel. My name is Shrideep. So I have 6 years of work experience in the consulting industry. I work with KPMG and Deloitte both. So what I've seen over here is like difference between service industry and product industry is like in service industry, we will have little bit of lag where it comes to the allocation of work. Like sometimes the work allocation becomes very high and sometimes there is little bit of free time that is there. So how do we ensure that the distribution and allocation is equally distributed so as to not like burn out the employee?
Okay, first of all, thank you for asking that question and putting both of us on spot here. No, so look, I'll suggest you change the lens a little bit. When you talk about service industry, our product is the service offering that you're giving to client. Unfortunately, a lot of these services that we offer to clients are either need-based or even our developmental plan for multiple organizations that we assist in. The problem that you're speaking about, in fact, all the big fours, we try and see how we have a very fine balance, but there are going to be peaks and valleys wherein there is going to be very, very extreme project deadlines because the delivery is coming out. Say if an IPO is getting launched and you're working on it, you are working on a very, very strict deadline to do it. Now, the firm's ability to taper it, what we typically do is try and give extra hands on deck on those projects so that the burnout rate doesn't really go extremely high. But at the same time, those peaks and valleys will continue. Um, while you will be able to manage peak, what we are also trying to do is that peak should not be very elongated. It should be very, very manageable, and people don't have to do it for, say, 15 days at a stretch, because then, of course, health starts taking in. As an effort, the organization, what we try and do in what I spoke about, get more people, get contingent staff on those projects at that time. What we are also trying to see that how do we spread the work across the year? That's another effort as a strategy we put in place to do in. Third is once we have a bench, how that bench utilization works well in those scenarios also looked into. Now about the valley, the other aspect when you don't have work and you feel underutilized, what do we typically do? It's a great time that you try and upskill yourself or reskill yourself in the era of technology and digitization. I think with all these AI coming in, the jobs are evolving at a very, very fast rate. Now, what is relevant today might not be relevant tomorrow. So how as an individual, you try and skill yourself for a next job that is coming across? But to answer your question in a very simple terms, there are a lot of effort that leadership tries to do in. But yes, the nature of the job and services, it's not assembly line of production that you have to produce 8-10,000 products in a day. It has to be sporadic. And different nature of work at least are now able to define busy season. What is a busy season for you? Say for tax and audit, filing time or when the books are closing, it's going to be busy. For consulting, it's about once, say you're doing a deal, when is the deal closure happening, signing happening, that peak will happen there. So good thing is predictability is there. You are informed about it so that you can manage your work and task seamlessly. Badri, you want to add in?
So, first of all, you should have stayed back in Deloitte and not joined KPMG. Okay, so I'll talk to you about it. So tell me something. Look, every organization, be it product, service, right? I want you to understand how these professional services organizations work. We pitch to a client, and there's a very strong possibility of that project coming. Many people complain that, oh, you've taken us, you put us on bench, put us on bench. They do not understand that it's a fantastic opportunity, a paid opportunity, fully paid salary to go and dive into the 40 things that they have to learn. Nobody wants to focus there. All they are doing is complaining, saying that, you've taken me, you put me on bench. Arey bhai, I don't have any pleasure in putting you on bench. But the problem is, I've seen people on bench fantastically showcasing through intranet sites on what they have done with the free time, and they getting picked up in projects which they did not expect, and they're doing extremely well. You getting deployed is not in your control. What's in your control clearly is how you can showcase the time that you used when you were on the bench. And that boy did a brilliant job of putting it out on Yammer. We have a Yammer in Deloitte. He put it out on Yammer and he told everybody what sort of work that he did. One partner saw that and he picked that guy and he's doing plum projects. And that guy is progressing so well. So much so that everybody thinks that we're favoring him. The reality is something else, right? So use that time to brilliantly upskill. I was talking to Sanchi in the morning, right? I asked her what changed between the time that you started working in 2018. Yeah, 2018 to now. She said, Badri, when I started working in 2018, it was all Excel. By the time I matured in the organization and joined my second organization, I was forced to work on BDO and prompt engineering. That's it. So it's all about how you upscale yourself during that free time. And join back Deloitte, okay, after you. Thank you.
Hello, sir. I'm Vigneshwaran. I have 8.5 years of manufacturing background. I work primarily in the aerospace manufacturing with Larsen & Toubro. I work for Indian space programs mainly. So my question is, since we touched upon the attrition point, I feel like especially the freshers who are recruited, the ones who leave the organization and ones who are valued more I feel they were not given enough challenges at at the start of the career. There are many such instances I have seen in my own organization itself. So, is there some systems in place in certain organizations where certain people are being identified through a system, not through the managers? I just wanted to know some insights from you.
Quick comment. I think the onus is on you. You raise your hand, you make the noise, you be noticed. Like we say in Kannada, ashte. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, sir. I am Anas. I have 6 years of work experience in software development with JP Morgan Chase. So, my question is regarding career progression. So, what I have observed is a person who is staying in the same company for 4 years, he might get at max one career progression. But at the same time, if you circle back between two companies every 1.5 year or 2 years, you are able to reach that position much quicker. And how do firms, big firms like US, address this issue?
Tough questions Meenal will answer since it is Big Four.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind taking this because I would not agree to the statement because these days companies are very much open to reward the talent. So if you have gotten you, the companies are not limiting themselves by waiting for 2 years or 4 years for you to complete the tenure. So this is it's no more tenure based promotion which you get. There are fast track promotion process which is there existing in the organization. In fact, most of the organization are focusing how they can retain talent because the ingrown talent is something which which also helps companies to retain their knowledge and build on it. The kind of opportunities which organizations are providing you, you have to grab those opportunities and you have to perform. So if you're performing, the companies will also equally go out and support you in your growth and career. Switching the jobs is a personal choice, but then staying in the organization is something which you have to relate to the organization, obviously, that you are able to relate to the vision of the organization, and also equally that how organization is supporting in your growth there are immense opportunities are available with you. If not your current job, probably you can pick up some other projects which you can outshine. You can nominate yourself for other departments. You can offer job rotation if the current role is not something which you look forward to. So there are multiple opportunities available. It's upon how you want to shape up your career, and organizations are there to support you in your development.
Ma'am, I totally agree to your point, but one more small addition onto this. But what I've seen is what you said is very true in case of mid or senior level management, but at beginner level, mid level, there's an unspoken hierarchy that exists for career progression. When there are like say 20 people in the team, there will be like 5 or 6 people at the same level. So there's always a hierarchy that's existing over there. There's a 4 years experienced person who gets a career progression over a 3 years experienced person. So this guy is actually forced to leave out to get that career progression.
I think in that case, we need a lot of tough job in term communication, that how we are communicating about our career progression policy. Yeah.
Do your research and don't join organizations like that. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Don't join the organization like that.
Hello, sir, and hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for such insightful session. I'm Priya, and I have 5 years of experience in IT industry. So I wanted to ask that you were mentioning about digital transformation and how it helps in filtering out the roles which actually sets up to the job requirement and description. So in that case, like, how do you make sure that the skills that they show up in the CV actually matches up to, and they actually exhibit it, and not just it is on the paper? And how do people who actually are left behind because they do not own up to the skills, or because it's about skills you had mentioned, right? Because it's 30% based on that. So how do you make sure about that, that real talent gets hired?
Okay, so hopping to the point, since I brought that up, that we typically in the age of AI, we start using it. Look, it's all about opportunity. I think one of the panelists spoke about it very, very clearly with that example you said. It's not about AI, even when humans are screening the CV. If your CV is not making that cut to the 5-10%, which means you have not storylined what you've really done. And what you have really done is that fitting for that job. Are you applying for the right job, or are you applying for anything under the sun coming your way? So you need to be smart in portraying what you have done. Now, what AI is doing is using the same lens that we are using. Of course, there is a method and a model, more practical approach to it, less human. Of course, with a human lens, I could see a little more tranche of what maybe AI couldn't use my lens. But I think it's about the scale. And personally, now in the scale that we operate in, it's very, very difficult that we personally look at this if in case we are hiring for mass. So a very short answer to your question is, if you want to be there in the shortlisted one, maybe curate it basis what the needs are. You need to understand the job description role. And maybe if you're not getting shortlisted, doesn't mean you're not getting a job. Maybe that's not the right job for you. It's not always that you are not fitting in that puzzle. It's probably the puzzle is also not meant for you. So it's both ways.
Karan has been waiting for a while, so maybe Karan, I see him.
First of all, a very warm good morning to every one of you, and thanks for a very insightful discussion. And thanks to Bini for giving me an opportunity to ask. So my question is related particularly with campus hiring. So these days we see that a lot of educational institutes, right, are offering diversity of programs. There's a full-time program, there's an online program, there's a hybrid program, there's NDP programs. So you guys as CHROs or head of the organization, head of the hiring programs, right? How do you guys decide that what is the particular program that where you want to hit it? Because some of you guys talked about the academic rigor, about the competencies, about the skills. I believe more or less they all remain the same. Academic rigor, if we talk about any program that a university is going to offer, they are going to have, it is going to be delivered by a same set of faculties in the first thing. And the second thing, it is going to consist more or less of the same number of courses and credits. And so how do you guys basically decide which program fits best for you guys?
Yeah, so another buzz phrase that you'll hear. Another buzz phrase that you'll often hear is skills is the new currency, but I'll say it's the KSA model again. So we see that if this is the job description, these are the needs of the organization, which college, as an example, we often go to IIFT, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, because we have professors there who are in the Indian government commerce section. And they're also, there's a legacy of creating traders in that particular college. So we know that this particular course creates the academic rigor that we need, creates the discipline that we need for the type of requirement that we have. So I think it's fit to purpose. And most often you'll see fit to purpose for such roles. But for generic roles, we might, throw a wider net where, if the budget is good, we could go to the top tier colleges. If the budget is a little less, we could go one level down. So most often it is skills that triumphs over everything else. Which college or which course can provide us, as an example, even in Europe, we target colleges which have a focus on international business, or do they have a focus on strategy in some colleges? So we try and look for courses which provide us those type of students.
So what I get out of this answer is that you are primarily focusing on how the program looks like and not what the actual output of the student is.
No, the output as well. There is a track record of creating successful employees, if I were to say. So you have alumni from such campuses or such courses who have succeeded in a particular field. So we know that this particular course or this particular program creates the type of leaders that we need for the future or the current need of the organization. But that again, like I said, it branches out. It forks out into, is this a generic requirement or is this a niche requirement? So if it is a niche requirement, then we might go to specific programs and courses. But if it is generic, then we might cast a wider net. All right. Thank you.
I think so. We'll take one last question and then wrap up the discussion.
Good morning, all. Thanks for the insight. My name is Kushal De, and I have close to 5.5 years of experience in the oil and gas sector, oil and gas EPC sector. So my question is that, like, since I have seen and done projects in the oil and gas EPC, so it takes around 3 to 4 or 5 years to complete a project. And once the project is completed, you get any kind of rewards or remunerations for that matter. But within this period of 3 years or 4 years, how do you ensure that the employee is motivated to do the job? Because it gets very boring doing the job again and again without getting any reward. And all the reward that you get maybe on the side is a safety award and nothing else. So how do you keep the employee motivated? How do you think the employee can be motivated? Thank you.
You know, this is the classical example where karam kar fal ki chinta mat kar does not apply. I think honestly, the HR department needs to look at how you can break it down. How you can break it down into sections and chunks and then bring in interventions, bring in rewards, bring in recognition, because the whole project life cycle may take 3 or 4 years, but definitely you'll have phases within that. And I think it's more for the HR and business to work on that than you, but probably that would be one solution from my side.
Thank you.
On that note, I think so we'll conclude our conversation here, but it was quite an engaging discussion. I'm sure the panel can agree to it. We hope we met your expectation and answered all the questions that you had before listening to this conversation. What we can positively conclude is that whether it's campus hiring or is it market hiring, both have a value add. But like I think so Badri was also emphasizing and the entire panel was emphasizing that at the end of the day, the onus of bringing that career trajectory lies on all of us. We have to be more job ready than sort of just thinking that when we join an organization, they will have plans for us. I think so the other day we had the MD of Micron Technology here. He clearly said that as young budding management professionals, we need to have our own playbook, career playbooks, and then sort of design our own career journeys. And the organization, of course, gives us enough opportunities to actually build on it. So once again, thank you so much to everybody present here. And with that, we'll wrap it up.
And a huge round of appreciation from our side to Nidhi for the moderation.
From Prometheus gifting the fire of knowledge to humanity to Dracula's unconventional metaphor, I think we can all agree that our panelists have taken us on quite the journey through the world of talent acquisition.
Absolutely, Nikhil. Thank you to all the panelists for sharing your experience. And a special thanks to our moderator, Nidhi, for guiding this enlightening session.
I would like to invite Professor Giri to present a memento to our guest as a gesture of gratitude. I would like to invite Mr. Suraj Chetri. Next, we would like to invite Dr. Badri Narayana. Next, we would like to invite Ms. Shruti Srivastava. Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
We now invite Professor Amit Kumar Banerjee to present the memento to our remaining guests as a gesture of our gratitude. We welcome Mr. Himanshu Mishra. We like to invite Mr. Binny Dawson. Next, we invite Mr. Misal. Before we break, we'd like to capture this moment. Could you please come forward, the panelists and the moderator? We'll just have a group photograph. No. Professor Giri, Professor Kanagraj, and Professor Amit, please join them.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your patience. As we prepare for our break, we encourage you all to reflect on the wealth of knowledge shared in this session and consider how these insights might shape your approach for the future.
We will now take a short break to refresh ourselves before our exciting second panel. The break will last for approximately 20 minutes, and we kindly request all of you to return to your seats by 11:35.
Guests, please proceed by the left, and students, please proceed by the right. Right. Guys, SMT team group picture. Everybody, like, we are taking a group picture now. Yes, sir. Last.
Hello.
McKinsey and Aon, and roles at Adobe and Wipro. He has extensive international HR experience covering regions like APAC and the US, and deep expertise in HR functions such as talent acquisition, compensation, and L&D. Currently, he is driving the hyperscaling of Tejas networks. Kindly join us in welcoming Mr. Abhijit Mitra to the stage.
Our last panelist, Mr. Deepu Bhattacharya, is the CHRO at Unity Bank. With a robust background in technology, he brings a wealth of experience spanning the banking, fintech, and retail sectors. As the CHRO, Mr. Deepu is entrusted with fostering a culture that reflects the dynamic and innovative spirit of a digital bank. He is dedicated to driving all talent and people-related agendas within the bank, ensuring that Unity remains at the forefront of digital transformation and employee engagement. Kindly join us in welcoming Mr. Deepu Bhattacharya.
To moderate this discussion, we are pleased to introduce our classmate, Ankit Jha, an omni-channel retail expert with experience in business development, brand management, and strategy. Ankit has worked with top brands like Superdry, Gap, and Tommy Hilfiger, enhancing customer experiences. A National Institute of Fashion Technology graduate, he recently led category management at Myntra, driving triple-digit growth for his portfolio and won Myntra's annual award awarded to the top 1%. Please welcome Ankit to the stage.
Thank you, Sherry and Sai. I hope you can now rest your legs for another 110 minutes. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon, good morning. So I hope all of you are well rested. So thank you. Thank you so much. So in the 90s, Google transformed the way we utilize the internet. And in the current era, the publicly accessible AI models, the need for digital transformation are transforming the way where HR just cannot be an administrative function, but needs to be a business partner. So these questions that I'm gonna ask during our conversation, though I am the moderator, but the curation has been done by all of my friends sitting here. So a big round of applause to all of my friends here. And again, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you to the finest B school in the country. So I open this conversation with a general question, which I can would be for all of you, and you can take each of you can start by answering it. So I start with what are your views on data analytics as a strategic tool? How does it help improve your internal HR practices? So why don't we start with you?
Good morning, everyone. It's a loaded and very macro level question. See, it is not a choice. It is quintessential for HR to be data driven now. I mean, those who are lagging behind, they will become redundant. With the expanse of business, I have worked with companies like Reliance, JSW Steel, now Vedanta, with so much of diversity, so much of heterogeneous businesses. All businesses are different. Copper is different, gold is different, silver is different, aluminum is different. You have to have been driven by the data. In addition to this, the expectation of the promoters in terms of not HR, they expect you to be part of volume, cost, EBITDA, and cash flow. So you cannot avoid this data to be a part of it. In a recent study done by Verita, typically an organization like us handles around 10 PB of data. Imagine it is almost equivalent to 23 billion files. Out of that, only 15% is critical. Rest all are redundant or unclassified. So how do you choose? Definitely, it is a powerful tool to become be a part of informed decision making. I call it rather idiot-proof decision making, so nobody can fiddle up. So more informed, more data, more decisions are like idiot-proof. Thank you.
Good one. Hi, Ankit, and hi, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. I would say that, what data analytics has done to strategy is what online dating has done to relationships, right? And you would agree, right? It's become smarter, but it's become a bit spooky as well. But I would also say when it comes to strategy, your data analytics is just 1/4 of the story, right? The second part is that how do you connect it, right? If, for example, every year in June is when we see a lot of attrition spike, right? And some people say it's the heat. Some people say it's, they just got the bonus or it's the right time to leave. But we actually found out that that is the time for intake. So people who are just graduates and want to pursue their dreams, right? That is the time they leave. And what if we introduce, have a partnership, maybe with an XLRI to have a program? And that's how the second part of the story comes in. These two are just inputs. How you execute it in the right direction gives you the complete story, right? So it's done wonders to the strategy. And while data gives you, it's faster than humans in terms of the crunching of data, it gives us a lot of time to do the HR stuff and the execution.
Good morning to everybody. And I'll add up to what she said. See, data analytics is not a new subject. It has been there. Why it has gained prominence is the question to ask. I think the main reason is about big data. Data is exploded, and it is beyond any human being to analyze such a magnanimous data. Data analytics is not limited to only analysis and effective visualization, where your business analytics visualization, there are a lot of BI tools, so-called as BI tools. Tableau is one, Power BI is one. So you really need to understand the entire data, what this data analytics will offer you. Earlier in the earlier eras, the data or the compilation used to be going from down to up. So you used to get an aggregated view. But if you need to
go from top to bottom, it was not available. So this business intelligent tools will facilitate zoom in, zoom out approach to data. And remember, analyzing data is your compass in high seas without, and it gives you directions on which you can act upon.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm not going to repeat what has been said, but I'll just, add a couple of caveats here. Using data analytics, one has to have a very, very solid grounding in statistics, in understanding, what data means, and, making sure that, we are putting it to the right use. There is this, quote, right? Statistics, can be interpreted whatever you want. So there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? So it's important that we are careful with making sure what data analytics is and the scientific and statistical rigor behind it. That's point number one. And I'll again, raise a second caveat here that in a lot of what is called as data analytics, a lot of times we use correlation as causation. So we measure A and we say B happened, therefore there is causality. Causality is a much, much, much deeper concept where you control all the variables and then kind of see causality. It's extremely blitzed to nowadays say, I measured these 5 variables and I measured an independent variable, and therefore I kind of, that is data analytics. Again, I said, while it's important, I wouldn't take away the understanding of mathematical models and pure mathematics, even for HR professionals. And that is perhaps, setting the bar high, but one should make sure that one understands what we are kind of, playing with. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So, the problem with the last one is कि क्या बोलूं? लेकिन so data analytics is obviously ingredient for today for any business, any role, anything you do for all of us. If I look back or take the example of industries, we in banking are in the decision of taking risks. Now, when you take risk, you take uncertain datas. Now, the source of that data is of importance for all of us. We need to know the source of truth. We only look at the external piece, which is the what data you have. But then whether that garbage has gone in and which the output will come is the garbage only. So it's not only the analytics or, which is front end piece of it. If we have to understand from source the entire journey of what output is coming out, then we can do some true, it makes true sense that how can we, utilize this data to make decisions which are meaningful for the business. Now, if I come to the HR parlance also, today everything and anything has become data-based. And the industry or all professionals are moving towards making data-based decisions.
Thanks to all of you for
speak something. I'm making your life easier to understand. You are a wise man and you're sitting in my. Yeah. So I really want to poke all young minds sitting here. I'll give an example how it works very favorable for a company like core industry like us. Normally, it is very slow moving. You must be thinking, right? Core industries are normally very slow moving, not very fast paced changes they adopt. But Vedanta is very different, extremely aggressive company. And we don't hire lateral people in the middle. We hire campus or CXOs, no in between. Obviously, to give chances and disproportionate growth to the young people. There's a very clear policy. So one fine morning, my chairman, Mr. Anil Agarwal, asked me, I want to hire some people who have failed in family business. Either they are chucked out of the family business because of various reasons, or they failed. So see, again, he always baffles us. So I thought, how to do it? I mean, those who have failed in family business, still he wanted, Vedanta has a policy of hiring from top background. So they have to be qualified professionally. Believe me, this data played wonders for me. When I designed this, put it on the LinkedIn, I got 2,500 applications for that. And we landed up hiring more than 25. This was only to challenge the mental inertia in a manufacturing company, because these guys who have failed in family business, they can challenge, they can take the decisions off the hat, they have courage to counter. So data played a lot for me in filtering these people from LinkedIn, various sources.
Thanks to all of you for those wonderful insights on how data can be a powerful tool for businesses. So coming back to Mr. Deepu, since you come from a banking background and in the current era, data and safe use of data is very close to the banking industry. So how do you see HR in general or digital transformation teams embrace the Web3 and its applications?
Web3, yeah. So see, the blockchain, generally what is kind of, or crypto, these are becoming the use cases. Now, if I have to look at, yeah, so first is for my industry, yes, fraud prevention becomes a very, very key task for any risk guy, and it's for all of us. Fraud prevention is not only in the business, fraud prevention is in the function as well. The way you run a BGV, the background checks of the candidate, is also you are avoiding future frauds. If you hire fraudsters, the bank will have a lot of frauds. So to the question of Web3, this technology movement will find its pace. It will move towards, I think, where one of the use case will be, like today you have entire customer data linked with either your Aadhaar vault or your credit score. So one customer, if you have take a decision of a customer whether you want to give a loan, you have various data points residing in one place. Similarly, the track of a candidate will reside at one point. This is what your Web3 will give you. And the main utilization will be through this blockchain. There are various other use cases which are evolving in, in Web3. I mean, as I'll keep on giving or taking examples, as we, go along in terms of this thing. But the, authenticity of the people, their history, everything will reside at one place in the next 5 to 10 years. That becomes so easy for everyone.
I hope that.
I'll just add something is that when we talk about ethics, the first thing that comes to our mind is trust. And trust works both ways, right? So one way is, ensuring that ethics and data helps us in setting the right people. But at the same time, we have responsibility towards people. The data is throwing up so much of information about how people work, the entire analytics about it. And we don't have to be this big boss watching them and saying, oh, you spent so many more minutes in the toilet and judging your productivity. So I think the other part of data integrity and ethics is respecting privacy laws. Also, just ensuring that that entire trust gets reinforced. Sometimes you have biased data. You start with a bias hypothesis. Your whole data collection is biased. Your analytics, it just reinforces that bias. So I think that's another angle of ethics I want to bring in.
Thank you for sharing those wonderful insights on ethics and how Web3 and its applications can be utilized for the greater good. So moving on to Mr. Abhijat now, how do you view the role of data analytics in shaping the HR vision and decision making? I'll repeat the question again for Mr. Abhijat. How do you view the role of data analytics in shaping the HR vision, let's say for your organization in general, and how does it help in decision making?
Sure. So again, I would, start a little bit macro and say that fundamentally every company has a business strategy. I mean, all of us here are MBAs, we understand that. So there is a business strategy which underpins the HR strategy, correct? Now, where it kind of is important is to make sure that your business strategy and your HR strategy are aligned. So let's, work with examples to make it a little bit more real. Suppose you say, my business strategy is to have world-class products for which I need world-class people. If I need world-class people, I need to pay world-class salaries, right? There is a direct link. Now, if you do not have the resources to pay world-class salaries, then it's a problem. So that is, let's say, one use case. Another business could be, look, I get people, I pay them normal, I bill them to my clients, and I make money. And that's also perfectly fine. And in this particular model, maybe I don't pay world-class salaries. Okay. So again, let's say you're a service company versus a product company, and we understand the difference between these two. Most of you probably are from either service companies or product companies, is the fundamental fact that the marginal cost of delivery of the product once it is made is virtually zero. And in service companies, you have to fundamentally, put people, put resources to kind of, get the billing. Fundamental different strategies call for fundamentally different data shift. So the HR vision, while I kind of take that point, is fundamentally shaped by the business strategy. And again, do you even have people? Let's say if you are wanting to go in a particular technology, are there people in the country who can actually staff your ambitions? Case in point, if you're looking at extremely new areas, let's say manufacturing of microchips in India, there could be very, very few people who have the knowledge to do that. And that would call for a different kind of a HR strategy for that particular business. So again, I don't think it's universal. Start from business strategy, use data to validate your HR strategy, and data would be there. I mean, again, without going into details, we can talk about, let's say we talk about composite strategy, you can say I'll do benchmarking. But again, realize that even benchmarking, needs a lot of numeracy, number savvy, etc., etc. So it's all, very, very linked. So again, I think at a forum like this, we cannot perhaps go into the details, but suffice it to say that data is extremely critical for actually making something real. And the HR vision has to kind of, align with that at a macro level. I'll be happy to take questions as and when they kind of, come the later part of the session. Thank you.
I completely agree. I think data is very important for the future, how firms accomplish their targets and how firms strategize their vision. So moving on to Mr. Chandrasekhar, I think traditional approaches to management may no longer be as effective as they are maybe now or they were earlier. So how do you think, what are the trends shaping the future of HR complemented with data analytics?
There are several transformations which are happening to the traditional management. Traditionally, the way we used to handle. One of the trends is, which is a no-brainer now, is companies have realized that positive experiences is so important for organizations. So there is an opportunity where HR analytics or data analytics may help. Second is the integration of analytics in the HR field. Third is about gig environment. So there has been different models. Now, earlier we had a traditional way of having people on roles. So now you have gig workers, you have temp staffs, you have people working on contract freelancers. So this also is a transformation. And the last thing would be on wellness. So these are certain trends. Now companies, they invest a lot on wellness programs. They give access to information about wellness. And the last one, which which everybody talks about, is the DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion. Okay.
Thank you for those kind words. Coming to you, Renu, now. Do you think that data-driven decisions and strategy are complemented by what the workforce feels or wants? And how does the stakeholder feedback is integrated into decision making?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I would say that the quantitative part of data and the qualitative input through stakeholders and all, it's like a killer combo. It's like getting an XLRI graduate with a 5+ years of experience, right? It's not mandatory for the organization to have both, but oh boy, what a killer combo, right? And that's what it is, look at HR, right? The emotional quotient that we bring in, right? Or the kind of feedback we get from people, right? That cannot be dreamt even by any technology, including AI. And I'm glad that AI is not dreaming. That will be another problem to handle. But the way the technologies or big data analytics or tools like a Tableau, Alteryx, etc., help you crunch data, humans can't, not at that speed. Now, when this comes together, it's like making an Avengers team, right? Where, both of them bring their own superpowers and together unstoppable, right? And I'm going to quote an example here, correct? So Sutherland is into IT, ITES, and digital transformation, correct? For us, we are a services organization. People are our products. And what is most important for us is engage people and retained people, correct? So we put machine learning, big data analytics in AI together and create a early warning system wherein the system throws 400 people variables and tell us who's at the risk of leaving. These variables could be how far do you stay, when was your last promotion, how's your productivity, or what kind of courses you're doing, right? All of that 400 different variables. And it will just throw up that, okay, this person, let's say Sanchi, is at the risk of quitting because these are the 35 variables which are not in our favor. Okay. Now, the system throws this. Now, all the people managers look at this data and they themselves, because the data may or may not be true. It's more like a hypothesis. So the manager says, okay, Sanchi stays far, but she's very engaged and I can vouch for her. So manager makes it green again, red, amber, green, correct? And then what happens is you are left with a bunch of people who are still red and amber because of some factors, right? Now here, you go and talk to them. Now you've got the quantitative inputs, you've got the data analytics, But to retain them, they would be wanting 100 things. They might want career, they might want growth, they might want some policy, they might want work-life balance, they might. Now, your qualitative side of the organization, if it's able to provide, you lead to retention. If you're not able to provide that solution, then the data has no solution, right? And then, over to the top management, right? They will, okay, you have like, lower retention, lower attrition rate, you have high engagement scores. What does it mean about for the company, right? So you have to show the money, right? So every time you say that, okay, I have retained these 50 top performers, how much that translates into money, right? Because what's sweeter than honey is money, right? Yeah, thank you.
I would like to thank you once again for letting us know that we are a killer combination, our batch with a certain kind of experience that it holds. So coming back to Mr. Dilip, uh, how do you see Vedanta being a behemoth that it is today? How do you see the future of HR in a tech-driven world at Vedanta?
So, as I explained, the expectation from HR in Vedanta is very different. We are no more signing letters of appointment that digital does. We don't do that. So you'll be surprised to know my KPI is cost rationalization, volume increase, productivity. No more like recruiting so many people. That anyway it will happen. So with this kind of responsibility, it is already changed. The HR expectation is already changed. So you have to imagine the workforce modeling. You have to imagine the current workforce assessment. Intense data is required. Currently, HR is handling entire new project with a workforce modeling, with a new concept of end-to-end outsourcing. See, Vedanta, out of 1 lakh people, 80% is outsourced. Only 20% on the roll. That's the beauty of it. And all this is controlled. Big vendors like STIAG or NGSL, which is a combination of NTPC and GE, those kind of multinationals are working with us. This is all controlled through data. I'm not going deeper level 2, level 3 on how we analyze and decide a workforce modeling. Everything has to result in cash flow and the volume, nothing else. So HR expectations are very, very clear. Future is completely digitalized. And for pure HR play, personally, what I have devised with the team, of course, with the brainstorming and the team, whatever touches the human life in Vedanta, I have divided into 3: workforce, workplace, and the HR delivery. This touches everything. So workplace connectivity, I don't need to explain what is connectivity. Workforce happiness, workers' happiness. And the last is delivery, which is HRIS, face of your company, happiness, moments of happiness when you apply for something. So these 3 areas touch. So this is playing a lot of big role, and the future is completely different. We are also getting involved in people wellness, like we work with fire, 800-degree, 900-degree temperature in aluminum, zinc, or gold. It's high temperature working. So geofencing of that area, geofencing for the PPEs. We have put a system of attendance which captures almost 9 kinds of emotions when you enter in the plant. So you are happy, you are not happy, you are frowning, you are not angry. So it gives some insight, of course, and it can prevent untoward things in health and happiness. So this is the role change, clear cut, I am seeing.
So now let's delve deeper into one of the most powerful uses of data analytics as a diagnostic tool. And I think it has potential of a lot of potential opportunities and potential in any domain. Let's move into HR, how we utilize it in HR. So should I start with you, Mr. Chandrasekhar? So there must be challenges associated with leveraging automation and AI for increased efficiency while aiming to preserve and enhance the human element in your workplace. So how do you mitigate those challenges?
Okay, let me bring some energy. Let me give you an example. Not an example, news which I read in somewhere in 2019. The news was in Marathi. It said that even robots are laid off. Okay. Now, then I went for a search. I did some research on it. I found in Japan, one of the hotels, they had deployed about close to 250 robots. Those were humanoids, and 50% of those robots, they thought, cannot do activities which humans can do. They had put one humanoid robot in each room to service the guest. Novelty has got its value. Initial a month or two, everybody was happy. The robot will do everything for them. Strangely, after a couple of months, people started complaining. They say that whenever we are fast asleep, the robot wakes us up and says, "What can I do for you, sir?" Yeah. Even the snoring, the robot will understand that, there is some call for me. Huh? It was over functioning. I will not say malfunctioning, but it was over functioning. And now, what humans can do, machines, there is a difference. So we need to really understand the context. Now, the context is, while all the repetitive, mundane tasks can be taken by machines, the intelligent work will still remain with humans. Now, how do you integrate this? Firstly, you need to understand that automation should be a role enhancer. It should enhance human capabilities and it should not replace humans. That is evident. Now, a lot of hype is getting created. Yesterday, I think today, the earlier panel spoke about resumes being screened. But I wonder, it's not a sacrosanct deal as of now, because on the other hand, even students can make a CV through AI basis the job description which is already floated. So I'm seeing rise of two machines fighting with each other. I really don't know how the shortlisting would happen. A machine generated CV and a machine you wanting them to screen. So I'm a little skeptical about this. So you should understand what area we are navigating through. Look at opportunities where the mundane activities can be put onto machines. Now, how do you harmonize this? Automation, why automation is required is for efficiency. Efficiency will lead to profitability and so on and so forth. Identify spots which are high volume, you can automate them, and the other part, let it get enhanced the human capabilities. That is part number one. So this is how you can do it. The second part is you maintain effective communication. You should also ask your leaders to talk about this. When machines, what machines will do, what are the do's and don'ts of the machines, and what you expect from employees. This will release them of any anxiety. It will also empower them and they will be aligned to embrace new technology. So communication is must here. Second, you need to also leverage automation and AI and mission tech should enhance human experiences. Further, if I can talk about AI, what kind of AI is getting used nowadays? You have the NLP, you have machine ML algorithms, computer vision. I hope you all are aware. It is extensively used to record attendance. You know, your face recognition, all those stuff are computer vision. So yesterday when I was coming from the airport, you have a DG Yatra app by which it recognizes and allows you a green pass. So it is actually saving a lot of time and energy. Third is AI powered analytics. And then platforms, you have collaborative AI tools also. I think the key is you have to have if you want to mitigate any anxiety which gets created because of automation, your approach has to be a balanced tech and a human centric process. I think that's the key.
Thank you for enlightening us with your perspective and your wonderful experience that you shared. So coming to you, Renu, do you also have a similar kind of experience, or if you can share experience which you might have had at Sutherland?
Yeah. I'm just going to give a very small example on this bit, humans versus the technology. Going back to the same example of, the early warning system, or somebody secretly plotting to join the competition. What we realized is that the system was looking at 400 variables. The accuracy of that was just 69%. And when the human intervention, the team leaders were coming, right, the data became 93% accurate and actual predicting. And with that, when you talk to all those people and try to proactively retain them, saying, hey, don't look out, we have this for you. We could retain like good 45, 50% people, and we're doing this like month on month. And it is really taken our, goal achievement to a different level, right? Like across the 17 countries that Sutherland is, India is at the lowest attrition. It's at 2.3%. The industry average is at 5%. Our Europe counterparts at a 7-8% attrition. The US, the UK, Canada's at, close to 10%. If India is at 2.3%, right, it just talks about the beauty of how this can come together.
In fact, one more example to share. We are a stationery company. We manufacture more than about 2,500 products. Your AI helps you or gives you a good starting point. Supposing, for example, you want to design compass box. You feed in certain details, the aesthetic, it throws up at least 4 or 5 designs. That becomes a good starting point. So please consider machines and whatever technology you use as a starters, and it's very effective. It saves a lot of time. After that, you need to start building on it. What should be the user experience, the touch and feel, which actually machines can't do. But once you have a variety, you put in all the variables to add, and then you get 4 or 5 designs, then it becomes easy. So it has become a good tool for all those design engineers, and within the shortest span of time. So here it has enhanced the human capabilities, what it could otherwise not think and imagine and create 4 or 5 designs. It has enhanced them, and it has not really replaced, because the touch and feel and what the customer requires at the end of the day, a human can do.
Moving on to Abhijat. Abhijat, why don't you let us know about some data-led strategies which significantly enhance learning and development, and also how personalized and impactful training programs have you worked upon or created or have seen being created?
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about the obvious use cases because beyond the point, there is only so much out there. A lot of you probably are engineers, probably coming from the B degree, learned coding, etc., etc. One of the biggest things that has changed over the last 4 years, especially during the pandemic, was one could not visit campuses, and therefore what one did was to use uh, platforms which would fundamentally let you code in browser. Uh, so that technology was available for a while. It's not the latest and greatest technology. But what changed was the pandemic forced companies to kind of use that technology to its fullest extent. Okay. Then people talk about online proctoring. I'm not going to talk about it. But look at it this way. There is the AI in the background which auto corrects the code, auto analyzes the code, and gives it a particular rank saying this code is good because the person used fewer lines of code, person used the more efficient algorithm and things like that, right? That is nothing but in a way AI, where a human is not assessing the quality of the code. It is a standardized algorithm which is measuring the in-browser code that you have written, and that is a great use case of how AI can help in the future. So that is, I think, one example I would kind of certainly give. How it helps businesses, let me link that to it. So the technology part is fine. Now, beforehand, all companies would go to these campuses, physically go, present, uh, do all of that stuff, then spend a day writing a code and things like that. What this allowed is to kind of make companies geographically independent, right? So the pool expanded. So I could have what is called a so-called tier 2 institution in a small town of India, but the number one guy in that particular computer science course now has a chance to go and code across. I could have a national hackathon. I could reach tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities where people have hunger, who want to kind of go to good organizations, and therefore kind of take this with geography being agnostic. So that's a brilliant case of what opening up of a talent pool deep in the hinterland for companies which are hungry for talent did for us. Learning and development, let me take another example. So again, everybody kind of knows about online delivery of programs, so that's old hat. But what comes to mind is the recommendation engines. They're still not perfect. So when you, let's say, buy something on Amazon, it will give you 5 other things to kind of recommend. Similar is with learning programs. So you have done this module, now you can go and do this module and things like that. So all of that is there, but I think learning and development is still something which is nascent. What technology lets you do is to basically enhance, your self-learning, learning at your pace and things like that. But it also kind of, democratizes it in a way. So you can go to GitHub, you can go and learn and, do hackathons, prepare for examinations. All of these are examples in my view of technology and, analytics, which overlay some of that. So, I'm sure if you take online courses, there's a analytics which kind of, works in the back end. So again, companies can leverage it. These are broader technologies. You can in-house a little bit and, make your own version of it. But fundamentally, those are the things that, have happened over the last several years, which have a component of intelligence being built in. Yeah, but I'll just take a minute and talk about the point being made. I'm also a little bit of a skeptic, on the whole AI front, because look at it this way: what is, after all, ChatGPT? It is a LLM, which is a large language model, which fundamentally predicts the next word in the text after digesting the entire internet through a probability function of neural networks. That is all it is. So there is no intelligence there. If some of you have, are fans of Alan Turing, there's a Turing test which is there, which says, look, what is truly generalized intelligence? And,
while the LLMs can mimic the Turing test today, again, it is just statistical probabilities after digesting the whole internet that it does. We are probably still far away from generalized intelligence, but we are there when it comes to specialized intelligence. So chess masters are beaten regularly by AI. That happened back in 1997. But generalized intelligence, we are probably a little bit far away because we are talking about humans.
Thank you for sharing your insights on how data has democratized the way we learn and upskill ourselves. So I'd like to move on now to Mr. Deepu and would want to understand if he can share an example of HR decision that has significantly improved data analytics at Unity.
So let's pick up something like very basic, which is attrition. So one is your system, your HRIs, we throw some data, which is how these are the so many people who have left. Now you can obviously categorize them into as per your need. How many I look who are very infant attrition. The next you go to the pin code level, zone pin code level, because we are in MFI business as well. So our customers are at a pin code level. Now, when you penetrate to a zone that, okay, this is my zone where there are people who are leaving or where there are frauds happening. You go to that pin code level and see that what is the background of these people who are leaving and why they are having a low tenure. And believe me, there has been startling story which has come out of this, whether we have a problem with the manager because the manager was from a different background and he wanted a different set of people coming in, whether there was a favoritism happening. So all these things come out of that. Had we not actually spent some time studying that, we would have not solved this problem. The second is, we say, is conversational performance management. This is the most rogered process in HR, or in any organization. Now, in the OKRs, which is the current, this, all the leaders, it is the toughest job for them actually to give feedback. And more so to write a feedback. Now, in a platform where you have your monthly or quarterly targets, vis-a-vis, achievements, everything captured, at the end of the year or on a semi-annual basis, your AI will throw up a tentative feedback based on whatever you have written or the manager has written. And that actually helps in improving the quality. So these are some of the very innovative stuff which this technology is doing. And it's not taking away any jobs. It is actually making the job better. It is actually adding value to this process. And similarly, there are, let's say, where we are using a lot is people submit documents. How do we check the veracity of that documents? Now, whether the document has been fudged, whether the relieving letter has been sent by the right person, whether that document has been created, anything can happen today, whether the document has been created by someone, PDF convert, sent in from some email ID, but you cannot prove that this is a document which is true. But then there are tools which is available which will tell you whether this document has been fudged or not. Now that helps in prevention. It has not taken away any job. It has only added value to this process that my screening process is so strong that I get people with a very, very high integrity and a strong background. Over to you.
Thank you for those wonderful insights. Now, yeah, please.
I want to share my experience, which yesterday the earlier panelist, Mr. Badri, was with me. And we got ourselves introduced. He immediately opened his WhatsApp. There's a Meta AI on a WhatsApp. He immediately did a search on me. The data, what he got, who is the CEO of our company, what has been my org structure. It was disheartening to see that this data was about 6 months old. So whatever reliance we may have on AI, you need to still validate it. Otherwise, you'll carry some data which is pretty old and you will not even understand about it. Since yesterday, I've been hearing panels and there is an obvious quandary which will happen. We have been hearing two extremes. One, in the AI space, we have missed the bus. And on the other side, we say that, look, you don't have to really rely on the AI so much. The contrary is between these two extremes where we should be. I think a quick test about it is how much of reliance you should have. You have to make a choice. Let me give one more example. You have a machine gun, you know, AK-47. You want to kill an ant. You use that machine gun, you fire about 50, 100, 200 bullets. Probably the ant will not get killed. This is excessive use of technology. An obsession, you go with the hype. So please try and evaluate, choose the right balance, and keep on validating. That is the mantra. I know we are all, I think my panel members will agree that we are in a phase where we are trying to find that balance. But what is there good for us is something is better than nothing. It gives you a good starting point.
On to Mr. Dilip, we were talking in the morning that how you built a team of from 0 to 46,000 at Future Group. So can you, would you throw some light on in today's world, how would data had helped you build such a large team?
This was a real challenge when I joined Future Group way back in 2005. They were just beginning. They were at the threshold. Actually, I had never worked with retail. I started my career in government, went to Africa in FMCG, came back to retail. This was my first experience. And working very closely with Kishore Biyani, one of the finest promoters I have ever worked with. He speaks very less. So he speaks very less. It took almost 3 months for me to decipher him, what actually he wants. So he wanted to build the team. We had few big bazaars, pantaloons and centrals that time. And we had a plan to build every 15 days, one big bazaar or food bazaar or central or pantaloon. It was a humongous challenge. Opening one pantaloon or central, minimum 60,000 square feet with so many people deployment with SOPs, retail runs on SOPs. So finding those kind of people. And he gave me a challenge of hiring people, of course, building the team with a rider. I don't want anybody from retail and supply chain. It really baffles, no? Believe me, All these people whom you know, Damodar Mal, Mahesh Prasad, Kailash Bhatia, they never worked in retail. I hired them. The only qualification they had, they were BE and MBA. So we wanted people who did BE, which gives them analytical ability, and did MBA, which gives them the business sense. My supply chain head, I brought him from US. 22 years he worked with Cognizant, wanted to return to India. Within 6 months, believe me, he is a known person. Everybody knows him, Samson Samuel. He is the best person on supply chain in India now. And he was the CEO, first CEO of that supply chain, biggest supply chain we made. So this kind of challenges I had, and this only came through the data. All the consultants who were working with me, they were going mad. That how can I give you a person who has not worked in retail? So underlying factor behind this, of course, I had to work hard with the numbers, available people, crunching them, interviewing them day and night. And that time the AI was not developed so much. I had to depend on whatever perfunctory digitalization was there. The underlying reason was very simple. He said, ultimately, I checked him, why you don't want from retail background? They'll be relevant. But he said, see, retail background people will come. I will ask for the growth. He will say max of 30% growth. See, these promoters don't talk in terms of percentage. They talk in terms of how many X. So he said, I want to grow by 50%, 50 times. 50 times growth he was talking. Imagine what people will say. They'll laugh, ek pagal ho gaya hai. So I was sitting with him in Calcutta with the core team of 7-8 people whom I named, some of them. He said, guys, I want to be 10,000 crores by 2011. What would have been the reaction? Tell me what would have been the reaction of the people, 8-9 people sitting in the room? Sorry? Yes. So, but to the contrary, all these 8 people said, we will do it. And 2011, we were more than 12,000 crore. That's the power of belief and horse these promoters have. So with that horse only, I could create a team of 46,000 people. Of course, the modeling was again 70% were outsourced and 30% were own people. But even if they are outsourced, they were just all these agencies like MAFA or big agencies who were supplying us manpower, they were just supplying the warm bodies, nothing else. We were managing those people like our people. We had created the term called third-party logistics in 2005. Nobody was not even knowing it. So we created MAFA or Team Lease or so many contractors like that. And now they are running top players of Amazon or Flipkart or Mintras. And all these guys are CEO now, which the name which I told, including Reliance.
Thank you, Mr. Dilip, for sharing such a wonderful perspective experience. I think it would open floodgates of opportunity for for my friends who are thinking of exploring roles into new businesses, retail or consumer goods businesses. So with this, I would like to conclude this panel, and I would again thank you, all of you, for gracing us with your presence. And now I open the floor for questions, tough questions from my friends to the panel.
Hi, panel. So it's good to hear that you bring the data and technology flavor into the HR strategy. So my name is Ananjan. I have 5 years of experience in IT industry, functioned as a data engineer and application developer. So my question is basically related to the strategy or the complexity you face while defining the strategy in kind of product-based or service-based companies. Like I come from a service-based company. I worked in data crunching and data engineering, developing data pipelines for clients. I seen in very macro level. But when it comes to organizational level, you have various stratas. like BFSI, retail, all those data. So how you leverage or how you stratify all those segments of datas in consulting or service-based industries and in terms of product-based industries? Because in service-based, the horizon is very wide, but in product is very narrow. So how we deal with it? And my second follow-up question would be like, post-COVID and pre-COVID, the workforce is very different. Earlier, it is office to office work. Now it is office home is very hybrid. So how you see, like, and also in the COVID, the attrition rate gone up to 40-50% for each and every companies, where let's say I'm earning, I seen like I was earning X, and if my other companies is giving me X plus N or X plus 2 in salary, so I vouch that company. So it's that only the scenario happened that time. So how the HR strategy or the data strategy you see to study or produce the retention strategy for those that time? Basically, the sweet spot to attend.
So I'm going to take the first part of the question, and because you directed it to a services company, I'll give you one example as well. That Sutherland invested $20 million last year only in HR technologies, right? We invested in WSA, Qualtrics, CCI Group. These are all high-end data analytics, which help you, which are like 10x Google and 10x ChatGPT to help you, do end-to-end this thing, right? The challenge we are facing is data literacy. It's like, teaching your grandmother how to operate Insta, right? And, we're taking it slow because there's so much available. Now there's so much data coming, the real-time dashboards coming, people are not using it, right? So we are now gradually easing them into it, celebrating quick wins, telling them that, look, this is a positive result, technology can be your friend, analytics can be your friend, don't run away. Is that one part of the equation? And then there's a second part of the equation in terms of challenges is, so far, analytics has been limited to, so there are 4 parts of analytics, right? One is descriptive. This happened, that's it. You make your own mind on what it means, right? You connect your own dots and you make your own patterns to move forward. Then there's diagnostic, right? Which is like a root cause analysis. This went wrong. Then you go 3 layers deeper and the data tells you this is where the issue is. You cross-validate it. That's very important. And then we're not looking at the 2 next realms of data analytics, which is predictive, right? That what does it mean, right? If this is how the volume's coming, how many people will we need, what skills will we need, or what's going to happen, right? And then there is also predictive and one more, prescriptive, right? Very good, very smart crowd. Okay, so prescriptive is where it also gives you that if this is coming, this is how you prep for yourself. That's where the scenario-based modeling comes in, that if you do this, this will happen. If you do that, that will happen. I think reaching there, it's happening very slowly. We are moving very slow. We become very rigid. I think that's where the challenge is. Second part of the question regarding the hybrid, if any other panelists would like to take. Hybrid.
Hybrid work. Yeah.
So he means, how do you manage talent pre-COVID and post-COVID, because human habits and complemented with technology have changed?
Yeah. See, I'll go a little left field and say 2021 was an aberration. Okay. This concept of attrition fundamentally being controlled by companies, we should, all have a dose of humility to say, look, we can go do this. The thing that we do not control is the market. So if the talent for market is hot, there will be attrition. That is a fact of life. Now, the entire industry and industry by industry overhired in 21 and 22. In Bangalore, where I come from, every engineer had 3 offers. Okay, on Friday, I would field calls to say, If you give me 50,000 more, I will show up to this office. If you give me 50,000 more, I will show up to that office, right? That is the reality. So let us, take this, with a lot of humility that look, while you can try to control attrition, let us not forget market dynamics. That is point number one. Point number two, 2 years on, see what happened to the tech industry, right? Even the biggest behemoths of the tech world, who fundamentally have every smartest people, the most updated technology, could not predict their workforce size, right? I do not want to name names. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But again, that should imbue in us a sense of humility to say that just because you have the resources and the smartest people, one cannot even predict something of how many people that I need. And this is not overshooting by 100 people. This is overshooting by thousands of people. Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to kind of say that, look, companies can do whatever they do to prevent attrition. And they should, make the best foot forward with the data available, with the latest tools available. But let's just accept that, you don't control it beyond the point.
So why don't we have a question? Okay. Yeah,
I
please.
think to add to what he said, during the COVID times, there were issues about moonlighting, and after that, probably people had to make a choice. Now, after getting so much of information and experience about working with two companies, probably few people must have thought that let me become a freelancer now. So attrition is agnostic of whether it's a hybrid working, is it office or totally work from home. I think that you need to look out for more factors. What has contributed to attrition? And as he has rightly said, the market dynamics have changed.
Hello, my name is Isha Banerjee and I have over 5 years of experience in software development. So my question is, like, we have a lot of data analysis and all there to take data-based decisions. But what about the intuition-based decisions? There can be situations where you feel like, okay, this data is suggesting this, but my intuitions are telling something else. So what are the right strategies are available to ensure that in such cases of dilemma, you are able to take the right decisions?
So interesting question, and you have raised a valid point. I will not go with the intention, but along with data and BI, your human intelligence is more important, most important. Sometimes intuitions fail, but human intelligence is required in that. A lot of things are happening. Look at the flip side of it. There has been a threat landscape report. I don't know whether how many of you read that. In that report of 2024, it has been clearly spelled out that AI is biggest potential to your survival threat. Recently, you must have seen one news that there was a steel plant in Rasa, which was blown away. The blast furnace was blown away remotely, just because of OSINT, nothing else. You need to be very careful. The flip side is dangerous. You can't upload, you are uploading everything, putting at risk. You need to be very, very careful with ever evolving cybercrime with your human intelligence.
Makes sense.
Just add to this that yes, and we have witnessed it that sometimes data is speaking a completely different story than your intuition. But trust me, human mind has been in development for much longer than any emerging technology. And when you go a little deeper, look at broad basing data, etc., somehow your intuitions come true. But I am saying it's more like, if you are James Bond and you have this wonderful sidekick called AI, you keep switching between, right, where this works, where that works, and bring the best of both worlds together.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Akanksha. Thank you for a very insightful panel discussion. My question has to do more with, legacy companies. There are companies that have been traditionally run, like in the case of Camlin. And data analytics, of course, plays an important role in today's day and age. So how do you retain the values and ethics that you have built over the years, given that data has suddenly come in and data analytics has suddenly come in and taken over a lot of the processes and systems?
Since you mentioned about Camlin, a legacy organization, yeah, we started somewhere in 1931. Now, somewhere in 2008, when we introduced SAP, we were among the few companies who could complete the SAP automation process within about 6-7 months. Legacy organization has got some values which will transcend through ages, but employees keeps on coming. The old employees will leave, the new employees will come. What we have maintained is a human-centric approach. We will do automation where it is required, where we'll have a competitive advantage. Should there be any job loss, it will be our responsibility to reskill them, maybe upskill them. We'll try and talk to them and understand whether if he has got any other aspirations. One principle which we have followed is we will never chuck out any employee. We'll try and accommodate him in the system and still see to that we are competitive in the market.
I would also just like to add is that some basics do not change. Your values, your ethos will never change, right? If you exist for a reason, and even if no matter how much progress we made and how much digitization, automation we bring in, at the core, there are some things you need to be true to, and that also connects people to you. If you are a company with a soul, it connects with people. If you're a company with a purpose, it connects with people. That will not change. Technology comes in, it integrates into that, it reinforces your values and what you want to drive. It doesn't replace it.
So just to add here again, see, data and intelligence is meant for business. Ethics is the watchdog. You need to design ethics differently to control, nothing else. It has no hyper combination. Ethics runs parallelly.
Hello, thank you for this insightful session. My question is regarding implication of data-driven decisions. Okay, so most of the times what happens that we get a lot of false positives. We had employed a AI system which would filter resumes and profiles based on LinkedIn. And most of the times, even the generalist did better than those profiles. It came later during the technical evaluation that they failed, and drastically our rejection ratio increased. So there is always a pressure to consistently evolve. So how do we deal with this with advent of AI? Thank you.
Yeah, so the problem of false positives will remain. The false positives fundamentally, I'm personally not aware of something that has kind of gone away from that situation. Let me give you another example. Cancer screening is another use case where false positives are a huge problem. Okay. All our bodies, have unmitigated growth, but 95% of them fundamentally go away, right? On its own, naturally. But the moment you do a cancer test, there will be some false positives. The moment you have false positive, you start a routine of, let's say, chemotherapy, etc., which is not required. Okay. So this problem fundamentally doesn't go away. Again, I would say that, look, I have not really seen an algorithm which is fundamentally not trying to the job matching and something talked about adversarial adversarial algorithms. You write a CV which will try to beat the filtering mechanism and so on and so forth, right? Because fundamentally, what are you doing? You are doing phrase matching. You are saying, my job description has these 5 phrases. My CV has these 5 skills. And what you're fundamentally doing is nothing more than a matching algorithm to see how many of this is there. Okay. Now, on top of that, you overlay a scientific model which says, I will do a little bit of a deeper level stuff. But ultimately, it is a text matching engine. It is not intelligent in the sense of that it has imbued itself with some amount of intelligence. So it is probably text matching. Now, again, AI also hallucinates. I don't know whether some of you have heard about it. AI hallucinates. Now, what is fundamentally hallucination? Hallucination is, you have a fundamental problem in the underlying AI models. Okay, it's estimated that Llama hallucinates 8.5% of the time. ChatGPT hallucinates about 4% of the time, etc., etc. Because fundamentally they, have a sense of the world which is, going on probabilistic models. Okay, so it's a good starting point. As I think somebody in the recruitment panel said, I have 1,000 CVs. I, beyond a point, cannot process 1,000 CVs. There is no way that a human can process 1,000 CVs. So fundamentally, you are using it as a shortcut, and that is good. The problem is that, it is an application of 1,000 CVs is coming in, and you are trying to kind of sort it, and then you're looking at top 15, and then you are doing the human interplay to say, I will only look at the top 15% resumes, and it is what it is. I've tried to understand what beyond what basic text matching and phrase matching algorithms, these parsing of resumes and selections of resumes try to do. I haven't come across. In fact, I have seen a lot of people doing the other thing, write a CV based on the job description, adversarial AI kind of, playing. At this point of time, I don't know where we will kind of, land on. I mean, that is, from my perspective, it's an unsolved problem still. It's solved to the degree that 1,000 resumes will give you 15 resumes based on a certain algorithm. But that's the end of it. Somebody asked a question, how do I, my CV doesn't, go in the pile. Frankly, there is no, way to ensure that your CV doesn't go in the pile. It's the luck of the draw. To try to beat the ATS, which is the application tracking system, you can try, but the other problem of AI also lack of explainability. I mean, if you go into where the explainability of the AI fundamentally goes down because the AI has hundreds of thousands of iterations of data, which nobody can explain. And that is, now AI has become like a black box. You enter the prompt, you do not know how you got to the answer. So it is iterative because in the back end, it is running through 15,000, 20,000, iterations. And you cannot fundamentally explain how you got from point A to point B. Yeah. So again, in this, we should, retain a sense of humility is what I say.
Very well said, Abhijat. I would also add one context from Sutherland. So Sutherland is into a lot of algorithmic and AI products. We have 200 patents in the US, and every Google product before launching gets tested in Sutherland labs. How we are evolving is constantly testing it, constantly looking at where the failure points are and re-looking at things. So it's a very long evolution process. But in the meantime, we rely on intuition a lot. For example, if you are driving a car and your Google Maps is telling you to go somewhere where you believe it's not the right path, right? Because you've lived in that area forever, correct? You still follow your intuition.
Correct. Thank you.
The last thing is stop depending heavily on AI output. I think we should change our mindset on this. The issue is over dependence, and we think whatever comes out from there is so sacrosanct. And if we don't get an output from an AI engine, we feel that we are helpless and we are constrained. I think we should use that as an augmented tool, nothing beyond it. At least as of now. I don't know what the future will look like.
Yeah, I have a
something to add based on experience with the campus hiring. So many times we see when HR heads or CHROs, when they come for campus hiring, they wanted to have maximum number of CVs for the role. And we land up in giving the CVs of all the students, whether it's relevant to the job or not. We wanted to give that. They say, I don't want anything less than 400. I want 500. And I was recently speaking to one of the CHRO. He was so happy that he said for 2 positions across 4 campus, he has got 1800 CV. I said, boss, it only defines that you don't have a clarity of what you want, right? Your job description is wrong or it is not clear, and your specification for the role is not clear, and you are unwantedly being happy about having 1600, 1800 CVs. So therefore, I think this having CVs in large numbers and having a problem of shortlisting comes primarily from here, that there is no clear definition of whom you wanted to hire. So I think, I don't know whether it is a HR issue or is it a business issue, but I think if this gets defined properly, I think you will get much more relevant CVs rather than all the CVs which comes onto your table. That's one. Number 2, coming back to applying AI, I think one of you spoke about it. And like how you started using AI and all this for preparing CV, I think B schools also have started using technologies in preparing CVs, right? Now, every CV what is prepared is technologically matched with a JD, and there is something called ATS score. Unless and until the CVs are optimized for the ATS score, the CV is not come to your table, right? So therefore, I think these are something what is happening at the campus level, and I'm not sure how this can be improvised. Thank you.
See, often there is a saying, solutions of today are problems of tomorrow. Right? So you are trying to solve one problem, you have created another one for the future, and you will start grappling with it. Though it is driven by greed, kuch acha milega to, back during my school, college days, I heard about a story where a female goes shopping for an husband. She goes to the first floor. She feels that the second floor will have some more. And finally, she lands up in the terrace and there is a board which says that there are no husbands available for you. Your expectations are too much. So this could be driven by greed. And finally, also they have an appetite to go through all those CVs. Some companies who are stressed for time may not get into so much of things. They will choose what company should reflect on us. Supposing if I have a person, instead of looking at points to reject a candidate, they should see what is the input which is required from the company to make him complete. I think that kind of an assessment, the mindset has to change. Or people have to, instead of saying mindset, the orientation has to be slightly modified, nothing more.
I think if the intent is to select, approach changes.
Yes.
I want to give you other side of the context here is, there are times we have our own tools whom we rely more and then your tools. So you may do matching, we may want to do it ourselves. Another thing is that we've seen some malpractice in some campuses wherein, the right candidate was not pushed through, but some favorite of PlaceCom team was pushed through. I'm sorry, but it happened in some campus, right? And the message is that it's driven by students committee mostly, correct? And they try to, so we just want the process to be as fair and have the entire thing and do this, even the filtering process ourselves, that is the other side of the context.
IDP thinks that lesser the number, it is related to the reputation of the employer. So they think that the more the CV they get, then the employer has a better reputation to the campus.
Yeah.
No, I think oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'll also tell you, right? I also run the tier 1 campus team, right? And we have like a target that at least the student may come in. Sometimes the vacancies are less. Sometimes we get resume and then we say, look, there is really good, skill available or experience available. Sometimes we also push some, and when there is not a clear role available, sometimes we even create roles to ensure that we have a good number of campus hires come in every year.
There is some CV database.
Yeah, but with definitely a clear target to have, a good participation from campus hires.
See, a lot of agile HR functions, they rely on, let me get an opportunity to connect HR driven, data driven. Now, if you hire from the market and if you have consultants to support you, their data of past 2 years, how and what kind of CVs they were able to give, are the candidates proposed by those consultants, do they stay with you for a longer time? If it comes to campus, which campus is better? What is the aptitude? What are their performance deliverables? So all this now culminates into a lot of data basis that then all those things gets mitigated or to some extent, probably if they get a good experience about the institute, they will start saying that why please don't give 400 CVs. We are happy with say 20. And this is also something to do with trust. Over a period of time, trust building also happens.
Just an observation here. See, we hire more than 2,000 people, young people I am talking about every year. Last time we hired around 2,100 people, young boys and girls. So Professor, you are very right. See, if our talent policies are very clear, we hire from tier 1 only. If it is focused, designed perfectly, you don't find this kind of dichotomy. So you have to be very clear what kind of people you're hiring. We never face any problem. Last 3 years, I have been hiring more than 2,000 plus. We never faced it because your standard is tier 1, your talent policy is defined, you are targeted, whether finance, marketing, HR, general management, it's all defined, criterias are defined. So selection process is easier.
So I'll tell you an example of my. So yes, so the other thought is, do you want to deprive people of the opportunity? Year 2019, when I was visiting these IIT campuses, there we said, okay, we need people from circuit branch, clear. Now rejection came that, sir, why do you want people only from circuit branch? Why are you not giving an opportunity for people from the core branches? So when I do that, the size becomes very large, which means the test that you have to execute becomes very large. Yes, you are making your search diverse. But if I have to take 2, then 1,800 doesn't make sense. But if I have to take 20, then 200 does make sense. And, especially when you have to. So there are two sides of it. How do you want to see it? So we had to expand it to the core branches as well. We picked up also people. It says, sir, aajkal to everybody is a coder. Everybody codes. So why do you want to take away that opportunity from them? Well, he was right.
I'll ask the first question and think she will follow. So, good afternoon to all the panelists. My name is Srinandan, and I have worked for 5 years in a steel industry, in an integrated steel plant. So, in various domains like sourcing and procurement and operations. So my question to the panelists is, what challenges that you come across when it comes to measuring individuals' motivation, belongingness, and engagement? And if there are any formal data-driven mechanisms that you follow, if you could shed some light on that, because I believe that more than rewarding, it's the motivation behind the work that's going to reduce the attrition rate. Thank you.
Again, I think
Last part, repeat last part.
So I couldn't get you, sir. So I wanted to know what challenges that you come across while measuring individuals' motivation, engagement toward work, and the belongingness towards the work. At the same time, what various mechanisms that you follow, those supposed to be the data-driven mechanisms in your industry.
So I'll give you your example only in the steel industry. So you have been a procurer, right? So what you were doing, commodity or services?
Commodity, sir. So
Okay. So it is more challenging. So
Yes.
exactly commodity example I'll give. So to be self-motivated, it's a bloody drab work to buy commodity, right? In steel, what you must be buying? Iron ore fluxes. That's all.
imported coking coal as well.
Correct. So did you ever try to break the pricing model, break the cartel? Motivating first.
Yeah. So yes, so the motivation for that comes from the company within. And it's tough since the players are limited. It's tough to break the cartel, but we do take advantage through some backward and forward integrations.
See, why I'm asking this question. First comes from within, how you are engaged to the work. Second comes the company, how they ring fence you, how they disproportionately reward you. So suppose current is say $2,000 is your commodity purchase per ton. If you say that I'll do it $1,500 per ton, company doesn't mind to pay you 2,000 shares. Ultimately, Lakshmi is the motivator, isn't it? Ring fence of Lakshmi is the most important motivator. You forget your work life, you forget your performance, just that comes, you keep on working. So think that way. This is the way company does. We do in Vedanta. Disproportionate growth, disproportionate rewards, which matches your contribution.
Very good one, actually. So how we've used data analytics to measure engagement, belongingness, and all. So far we've been doing Great Place to Work surveys, EX, etc., all of that internally, but it was very inward. We had no benchmark, right? So we went to this, we signed up with WSA, Workplace Science Associates. It benchmarks employee experience scores across 200 countries, right? Like billions of people in that data. Second is look scientifically all the levers of engagement, right? Things like I have somebody to go to, a manager, recognition, careers, tools to do my job, clarity about my job, all of that, right? Or Gallup's Q12 included in it, right? Now, you know the psychology of engagement and belongingness. You're measuring against 200 countries, and then you're realizing India's scores and China's scores are very high. Then you also look at the other layer, which is that there are countries who tend to rate higher given the same work environment, and there are countries who tend to rate low. Like Japanese are unhappiest people in the same environment where happiest people are, the same environment, or French people are the unhappiest. It's their own cultural tendency, correct? But what you measure is what's inside the organization. There's this other lever of engagement, which is also what's happening in their personal life, which we don't have access to, right? That equation apart, I think this is how we go about using data to measure, and then using that back to bring in those elements to improve, right? Yeah.
What is primarily asking is how do you make an assessment? There are only two ways. Either a supervisor observes and records the motivational levels, but this being very subjective in nature, it cannot be analyzed. Or else the person speaks for himself. And that is curated in form of surveys, what she has said, Gallup surveys, mood surveys, With this, you can gauge what kind of motivation exists. So primarily two ways, either a supervisor tells you or a person himself tells
Yeah, I'll just add for like one technical part here, and I'm sure you would have probably studying it. All of these surveys fundamentally are premised on what is the most used scale, which is the Likert scale, which is basically sometimes, often, etc., etc. The psychological distance between a 4 and a 5 and a 5 and a 3 essentially was all calibrated in what is the WASP world. Western, all these scales were developed in the West, right? And to the point that, look, Japanese are like this and the Chinese are like this. So all these scales were built on the WASP scale. The cohorts were the WASP cohorts. So there you have a problem. I mean, what do you do with the psychological distance of an India-centric cohort measuring between always versus sometimes could be very different. You look at Uber scores, Uber driver scores. Would you take a Uber driver with a 4 score today? So anything above 4.8 is a de rigueur, 4.9 and a 5. So it's an entire different kind of a ball game. So these challenges will remain in some sense of how products or even drivers get rated.
So, sir, in that regard, if I could add some analogy, that if I'm driving a car and if there is somebody expert sitting next to me, after completing a 1 hour drive car, he's basically a supervisor telling to me, yeah, you have driven well. But analytically, if I want to be assessed myself, I want some integrated software which measures the parameters of fuel consumption, the performance, the way I've driven, the kind of brakes that I've applied. So is there any similar mechanisms that is being developed or planned or being already there in the industry, so that in your work itself, it can be measured that how much motivated, involved, and engaged you are towards the work?
See, basically, this is very contextual. When you talk about Uber drivers, the company doesn't care, whether he is giving you fuel efficiency because the car doesn't belong to them. Uber drivers or Ola drivers, they bring their car. Whereas if you need to, so every company needs to decide what is their priority, how they are going to measure, get into the right metrics, and develop assessment tools. I think that is the simplest way any practice or a process can be deployed.
Thank you, Srinandan. Good question.
I would like to thank.
Priti had one question. Should we take one last or offline? Whatever Ankit decides.
I think we can take it offline after this discussion. So thank you for this wonderful discussion. And also, I would like to appreciate my friends for their curious questions. Over to you, Sai and Sherry.
Thank you, Ankit. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to our esteemed panelists. Their insights into data-driven HR practices have been truly enlightening. From exploring the implications of Web 3.0 on HR to leveraging data for more effective LinkedIn hiring strategies, our panelists have provided us with valuable perspectives on the future of human resources.
Absolutely, Sherry. And who could forget the cautionary tale of 2009 when malfunctioning robots had to be laid off? A stark reminder of the importance of human oversight in our increasingly data-driven world. Thank you for all your expertise and thought-provoking discussions. A sincere thank you to every one of our incredible guests for the profound insights. Please give them a massive round of applause.
A special thanks to our moderator Ankit as well for skillfully guiding this informative discussion on the power of data in HR.
Thanks to Sai and Sherry.
Thank you, ma'am. We would now like to invite Professor Kanagraj to present a memento to our guests as a gesture of our gratitude. First, I would like to invite Mr. Dilip Sinha, Next, I call upon Ms. Renu Jatani. I would like to invite Mr. Chandrasekhar P. Deshmukh.
Thank you, Professor. Now I would like to invite Professor Giri to present a memento to our guests. I would like to invite Mr. Abhijit Mitra. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Deepu Bhattacharya. Before we break, we'd like to capture this moment. Could we please ask our panelists along with our moderator to please stay back for a group photograph? Request Professor Kanakraj and Professor Giri to join as well.
Thank you. We will now break for lunch and refresh ourselves before the third panel. The lunch break will last for 45 minutes. We request all to please return back by 2:15.
Thank you all. This is Sai Nikhil
and Sherry signing off.